All right, so I'll give praise, esteem, and honor to the Most High Yahuwah in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach this day. And so, yeah, pick it up in John chapter 5, verse 39, and make it do what it do. You know, that's Elohim's Kadesh Shabbat, another opportunity to hear this word. I just was listening to my man's man. I known this brother for a long time. He done got dumbass the years done went by. He around here debating and do it against religion, embarrassing himself. I promise he is. I promise he is. That John sad, man. That John sad. But it is what it is. Don't search the scriptures for in them you think you have eternal life, and there they which testify of me, and you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that you have not the love of Elohim in you. I come in my Abba's name, you receive me not. Another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one of another, and seek not the honor that come from Elohim only? Do not think that I will accuse you. To Moses, there's one that accused you, even Moses in whom you trust, wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how shall you believe my word? Shalom, man. So, John chapter 20, verse 26, praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. That don't just be crazy, man, We're just talking about this here, man. Niggas be making the word, I be telling y'all, more difficult than what it be. You feel me? Like, word ain't that complex, man. It's really simple, man. We put all this extra stuff, extra spin and grin, you know what I mean? And we ain't got to do all that. We ain't got to do all that. One thing I can tell you about in life, man, keep things simple. The simpler it is, the more success you're going to have. You know what I'm saying? And whatever you're doing. I'll tell you something, man. I would probably, with the exception of probably the New England Patriots, like if you look at most successful organizations and you look at their platforms and how they do things, well, they keep things mad simple. I'm talking about simple, simple. You know what I'm saying? Because it has to be able to be replicated. That's the beauty of simplicity. When systems in a company are simple, they can easily be replicated when you bring in new staff. You know what I'm saying? Like the book tell you that this word will be preached to a generation that is to come. I'm trying to remember what verse it is because I just looked at it the other day and I heard somebody else mention it, and it's escaping my mind. Because I just want you to see that before we read this John 20, because that's for real. I think we just read that, matter of fact. You know what I'm saying? Ourselves. But yeah, we did. Go to Deuteronomy 29. Go to Deuteronomy 29 and Psalm 78. Deuteronomy 29 and Psalm. We're going to look at all of them before we proceed. Shalom, man. I thank the Lord. I thank the Lord. Deuteronomy 29, right? You can pick it up at 29 and 20, I suppose. Dang, I still ain't saying that nigga that information. Slipping, man. But slip hard. But now we won't even go to that. Matter of fact, I don't even want Deuteronomy 29 because it's just not the direction that I want to go with that. So let's go around here to Psalm 78. I'm in Psalm 73. Go to Psalm 78 because I don't. Psalm 78 and 1 is sufficient. Psalm 78 and 1. Give ear, O my people, to my Torah, and incline your ears to the words of my mouth. First thing he tell you to do is to give ear. I want you to look at that word in this azan. That is to listen and to be obedient and to hearken. I want you to think about this olive. I want you to think about this ayin. I don't want to think about this noon. You know what I'm saying? I want you to sit back and think about that. The first thing that he told you is listen and be obedient. You know, the biggest thing, right? Remember what we were talking about the other day? Exodus chapter 24? Y'all remember that? What we were talking about in Exodus 24? Think about that for a moment, if you would. Think about it. I just want you to think about it. What did we read in Exodus 24? Exodus 24 said, everything you said to do, we will do it and we believe it. Because again, see, we didn't just take the track that you may have thought we was going to take a track on blessing those that have not seen and yet believe. But see, that's a twofold thing. You know why that's a twofold thing? Because you were not in the wilderness. You did not see Elohim come down on that mountain. You did not hear Elohim's voice that thundered to where they came to Moses and said that, nah, you talk to him. We don't want to talk to him. You understand? You did not see the Red Sea part. You did not see any of the plagues in Egypt. You didn't see any of that. But you believe it, though. See, matter of fact, before I keep on going in this Psalm 78, just come on back to this John chapter 5 real quick. This will come on back to this John chapter 5 real quick. Come over here to verse 45, if you would. Come on back to this John chapter 5. I'm going to have to do this right now. It's just coming to mind. Just bear with me. Come over here to this John chapter 5 real quick, man, verse 45. He said, do not think that I will accuse you, Abba. There's one that accused you, even Moses, in whom you trust. For had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. Ain't none of y'all ever seen Moses at any time. At any time. He said, but if you believe not his writings, how should you believe my word? Now, pause. Think on that. Come over here to John chapter 9, right? I want you to think on that. I want you to come over here to John chapter 9, right? I want you to pick this up about verse 22. John chapter 9, verse 22. These words spake his parents because they feared the Yahudim. For the Yahudim had agreed already that if any man did confess that he was Mashiach, that he should be put out the synagogue. See, that's a lot of people's problem right now. One thing I thank the Lord for is I never had a desire to want to be accepted or liked. I'm not walking trying to get accepted. I'm just not. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to like me. If you're a real dude, we gonna be cool. You know what I'm saying? See, also, see a lot of dudes when they always see you have to watch for a dude that say unity over doctrine and all that other type of stuff. Because put doctrine and word to the side. You telling the man to compromise his principles, his standards for unity. You're not a man when you do that. Period, point blank. I wasn't raised that way. You know what I'm saying? When I'm talking about the dudes around my way, well, they didn't, I wasn't taught that, nigga. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't taught that, bro. I wasn't taught to put loyalty and principles and standards under unity just to be down. No, I'm not doing that. You know what I'm saying? And as a man, I couldn't with a straight face and a pure heart look another man in his face and tell him to compromise who he is and what he stands for unity. I couldn't do that without the word. I couldn't do that. I couldn't look a man in his face and tell him to do that. You know what I'm saying? Praise the Lord. You know what I'm saying? I want you to think about that though. Would you compromise your principles? Would you compromise your standards and who you are as a man for a friend? Because that's what you're telling me to do. Ask yourself this question after that. Would Elohim do that? Would Elohim compromise himself and his standards and principles to be down? And if the answer is no, then why would you do it? Because I'm not doing it. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot of dudes, man. We got to come together. Shoot, lying to me. I got to come together with Yahuwah. Whoever come together with Yahuwah, that's who I'm coming together with. My first and foremost priority is to come together with Elohim. Me coming together with you mean nothing. I can still die and go to hell. I can still die. And when I talk about go to hell, I'm talking about going to the grave. No life in it. Ain't no water in that pit, man. Ain't no water in that pit. I ain't talking about just burning in hell. I'm talking about dying. When I'm talking about dying, I'm talking about dying. Of course, the lake of fire dying. I'm talking about second death. If I ain't linked up with him, if I ain't unified and in fellowship with him, I'm dying. That don't mean that I don't love you, but I'm not finna compromise my principles and standards just to be down with you for some fake show of unity for the internet. You know what I'm saying? Not doing that. That's corny. That's corny, and that's what type of time we on. Instead of just serving Elohim and letting whoever Elohim draw to you, see, Yahushua told you in the 12th chapter of John. He said, when the Son of Man be lifted up, all men will be drawn unto him. Then let the Lord draw him, son. Land ain't gonna draw you. All that other stuff ain't gonna draw him. The man done told you what's gonna draw him. But see, you don't want to do that. Because that means you're gonna have to submit to the Lord. See, let me read that verse to you too while I'm out here. Let me finish this here, then I get that done well, right? He said, therefore said his parents, he is of age, ask him. Then again called they the man that was blind and said unto him, give Elohim the praise. We know that this man is a sinner. He answered and said, whether he be a sinner or no, I know not. One thing I know, that where I was blind, now I see. See, I like how he answered that question. I don't know nothing about that. But what I do know is I can see now. Before I couldn't. Then they said to him again, what did he to you? How opened he your eyes? He answered them, and I have told you already, and you did not hear. Therefore, will you hear it again? Will you also be his disciple? Look at how this man is responding to people, how he responded to them. He said, bro, he didn't keep it back and have to explain it. See, brother. He said, bro, I already told you. Listen to it again. He answered them, I've told you already, and you did not hear. Wherefore would you hear it again? Will you also be his? He said, bro, you ain't gonna follow him. What good is it for me to tell it to you again? Tell it to you just to tell it to you? Because if you ain't believe me the first time I told it to you, I ain't finna tell it to you again. I just want you to peep this here, man, because this man got more sense than brothers do in 2020. He said, bro, I'm not finna keep repeating myself to you. First and foremost, he told himself that he's a man. Bro, I told you one time already. Now, if I tell you again, you gonna be his taught ones? You gonna let him teach you? Because if not, bro, I'm not telling you this again, my nigga. You ain't gotta believe it. I know what he did. I don't care if you don't believe it. That's the mindset why do you care? That's the part I don't understand. Why do we care so much about proving something to somebody who is determined to reject it? Why do you care? Why do you care? You know what I'm saying? I don't care. You ain't got, look here, man. I was also like this, and this is the same. And see, this is the point too that this came to mind. I heard a brother mention this, and I tell brother this all the time, right? You a real live sucker. Real live sucker. If you let your perspective of a person be swayed by what another person told you about that person. You know what I'm saying? And you ain't had no direct dealings with that person whatsoever. So I don't never do that. I might not fool with a nigga, but I'm not going to tell you, oh, this nigga, this, that. I don't fool with this. Whatever your interaction with this person is, it may be different than mine, but I don't fool with it. You know what I'm saying? And that's my business. I'm not going to tell you not to fool with him because I don't fool with him, because your interaction with this person may be different than mine. You know what I'm saying? And that's cool. That's fine. See, I'm not that immature of a person where I'm gonna be like, oh, that's messed up. You fool with this nigga. You know what I'm saying? How you fool with this nigga? See, that's just different if somebody's an enemy. See, if we friends and you say that person is your enemy, and I'm not fooling with that person if you my nigga. I don't fool with nobody who's the enemy of my friends. It's different if you say, I just don't fool with cuz. You know what I'm saying? But if you fool with him, that's your business. I don't really rock with bro like that. So you know what I'm saying? That's letting you know, don't involve him in anything that has to do with this person over here, because he don't fool with them. You know, ain't no beef, ain't no pressure, but he don't fool with them. But if he say that's the enemy of mine, I'm not gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? Some people just don't have that type of loyalty where they like this here. Hey, you my nigga, you don't fool with him. And that capacity, that's your enemy. Then no, I'm not gonna rock with him. You know what I'm saying? Unless it's a situation where I knew him as well. Then that's between y'all. That ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm going to stay out of that. But don't never let nobody sway you, because you know some people, that nigga this, that nigga that. You don't even know that man. Now you looking at that person crazy based off what somebody else said or somebody you don't even know. You know what I'm saying? Only thing you can do is pull somebody coattail to somebody. Hey, watch yourself, bro. Ruckus came like this, that, then the third. What they do with that information, that's on them. See, that's a different type of thing. If you know somebody robbed and you let them know, hey, man, be easy around there, bro. Brother on the rob now. That's it. You giving him the game. You can deal with him how you want. But if the nigga rob you, don't be shocked that the nigga ain't tell you that, because he told you, watch yourself. That's what he like to do. You know what I'm saying? That's what he like to do. What you do with it, that's on you. I say that because they did that to the Lord. They did that to the apostles. That they talked down on these men who some people had never came in contact with in order to discourage you from dealing with them. You have to pay attention to people who always talk down on somebody to discourage you from dealing with them. That's a beta move. Because if they sour, it's going to show, and you ain't going to fool with them. If you got to convince somebody not to fool with somebody, that nigga a buster. You know what I'm saying? Because real niggas don't do that. Nobody got, you never seen Yahushua walk around convincing people not to fool with the Pharisees. He just told them, you better watch them now. Them boys, they got the leaven of hypocrisy. You better watch them now. Them boys hypocrites. He putting them up on game. Hey, them boys tell you to do something, you do it now, but don't do after they work. Them boys saying they don't do it now, you better watch them. That's all he told them. When you pay attention to it, he told them, peep the game. Look how the boy move now. The boy moving sour now. Watch yourself. Let's continue. Then they reviled him and said, you are his disciple. We are Moses' disciple. We know that Elohim spake unto Moses. As for this fellow, we know not from whence he is. How they know Elohim spoke to Moses? Were they there? They weren't there, but yet they believed it. But they weren't there. Come over here to John chapter 12, then we go to Exodus 20, man. John 12, man, verse 28. Make it 27 if you would. Shoot, make it 26. It ain't gonna hurt nobody. I thank the Lord. You definitely got to watch somebody who talk down on a nigga they ain't never met. They ain't never been around in the flesh. You definitely got to watch that. That's the hardest move of them all. That nigga definitely sit down and speak. You know what I'm saying? Period, point blank. Also, now I mentioned to you before, ain't nobody talking down on you if that's what you did. If you did something, that's what you did. That's on you. That's on you. If you did it, you did it. One thing I noticed about people in this life, boy, ain't never no problem until somebody call them out for it. Now you mad with other people for calling you out for something that you did. You gonna be mad at the Lord when he call you out for your sins that you did? You did that. It's nobody else's fault. That's your fault. But you know, that's what we like to do. That's just our people, man. We're hard-headed, we're rebellious, and we just don't like to listen. And when it's time to be held account for what you did, it's always got to be on somebody else. John 12 and 26. If any man serve me, let him follow me. And where I am, there shall also my servant be. If any man serve me, him will my Abba honor. Now is my soul troubled, and what shall I say? Abba, save me from this hour, for this cause came I unto this hour. Abba, esteem your name. Then there came a voice from Shamahim saying, I have both esteemed it and will esteem it again. The people therefore that stood by it and heard it said that it thundered. Others said, a Malachim spake to him. Yahushua answered and said, this voice came not because of me, but for your sake. Now is the judgment of this world. Now shall the prince of this world be cast out. And I, if I be lifted up from the earth, will draw all men unto me. I'm here to tell you. I'm here to tell you. If you don't lift up Yahushua, you ain't going to draw nobody. I don't care about your music. I don't care about your garments. I don't care about how much land you purchase. I don't care about how many crops you sell, how many guns you buy. I don't care how many brothers you get to come together. If Yahushua is not being lifted up, ain't nobody coming to the Father. Period, point blank. You ain't got to like it. You ain't got to agree with it. I'm just going to let the Lord tell you one more time, and you can take it up with him. And if I be lifted up from the earth, will draw all men unto me. That's the only way you're coming to the man. He had to be lifted up. Once you lift Yahushua up, you can draw anybody you want. If it's in them to be drawn, they gonna be drawn. If it ain't in them, they not coming. Period, blank, point. They're not coming. Exodus chapter 20. They're not coming. See, that's what this generation of people don't seem to understand. You feel like all the other stuff gonna get them to come along for the ride. No, man, that word got to draw them for the ride. And if the word ain't gonna do it, ain't nothing else gonna do it. You remember what that parable? Who remember that parable with Lazarus and the rich man? Who remembers how he ended the parable? Who can tell me how he ended the parable? We're going to pick this up about Exodus chapter 20, man, about verse 18. But who can tell me how he ended the parable? I want to know who can tell me how he ended the parable. Of course, there's no way to say not to look. You know what I mean? But if you were smart, you would look. You know what I'm saying? But who can tell me how he ended that parable? What did he say? Don't nobody know what he said? I know somebody got to know what he said. That's right. He said they got Moses and the prophets. Let him hear them. Come on, let's look at it real quick, man. It is 16, man. Luke 16, not Exodus 16. I'm tripping. Luke 16, real quick, man. Luke 16, 27. Luke 16 and 27. You can make it 22. Luke 16 and 22. Concentrate. Ought to have been cold pressed. And it came to pass that the beggar died and was carried by the Malachim into Abraham's bosom. The rich man also died and was buried. And in hell he lifted up his eyes, being in torments. See Abraham afar off and Lazarus in his bosom. He cried and said, Abba, Abraham, have mercy on me. Send Lazarus that he may dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue. I am tormented in this flame. But Abraham said, Son, remember that in your lifetime you received your good things, and likewise Lazarus evil things. But now he is comforted and you are tormented. Besides all this, between us, you there is a great gulf fixed, so that they which would pass from hence to you cannot, neither can they pass to us that would come from thence. Then he said, I pray you, therefore, Father, that you would send him to my father's house, for I have 5 brethren, that he may testify unto them, lest they also come into this place of torment. Abraham said unto him, They have Moses and the prophets, let them hear them. He said, Nay, Father Abraham, but if one went unto them from the dead, they will repent. He said unto him, If they hear not Moses and the prophets, neither will they be persuaded, though one rose from the dead. So if the Lord himself say a man raised him from the dead and say, boy, I'm burning in hell, ain't going to persuade you, what make you think everything else you doing going to persuade you? You tell me. You make it make sense to me. Because the Lord just told this man, look here, bro, even though if one rose from the dead, if they ain't persuaded by Moses and the prophets, they're not going to be persuaded by you. So you think your music going to persuade them? Oh, so you think buying X amount of acres of land going to persuade them? Oh, you think a whole bunch of brothers marching in the street going to persuade them? That's what you think? You dumb as you look. You know what I'm talking about? Because the Lord done said different in 2 different occasions. He said he be lifted up, men will come to him at that point. He said, well, if they ain't going to hear their word, well, they're not going to hear nothing. Because faith come by hearing and hearing come by the word. The word is very clear on that. What did we see the first thing he said in Psalm 78? You better hear. Give ear. You better listen and obey. It's on, right? Olive Zion in the new. You better listen and obey. When Moses read, come back to Luke Exodus 24. We read it again. We'll read it again. Because guess what? You ain't see Moses split that rock. You ain't see it. You ain't see Sodom and Gomorrah get burnt to the ground. See, I done told people this before, right? I remember years ago when we first seen the video where they found the rock Moses split, the 12 pillars, Pharaoh's chariot wheels at the bottom of the earth. I was telling my homeboy, like, yeah, that junk cool, but I ain't need to see none of that. I had believed him because he said that's what it was. That's cool on the confirmation tip, but for me, it is like, oh, I'm validated. And not to say that that's how he felt, but I know that that's how a lot of people feel because he didn't feel that way either. But that's how a lot of people feel. Oh, I'm validated. But for me is, bro, if they never had found that stone split, I still would have believed because why would he say that if that's not what happened? You know what I'm saying? Why would he say we came up out of Egypt and he drowned Pharaoh in the Red Sea if that's not what happened? If that's not what happened, then he wouldn't have said it. Like, it's that simple for me. Like, if he, man, look at me. I done told y'all this before. If this man say he moonwalked on the moon, that's what it is. Because that's what he said he did. Why would I call him a liar? I know he's solid. I ain't got no reason to doubt, no question. You know what I'm saying? I don't have a reason to. He hasn't given me a reason to doubt or question him. He hasn't given me a reason. He hasn't given me a reason. People doubt and question because you don't really believe what the person is saying. That's why you doubt. I'm not talking about how people feel you. That's why you doubt. You know what's funny? Is that the people who treat you the worst and lie to you the most are the people that you trust the most. The people who have never lied to you and have never done any evil to you are the people that you mistreat and doubt the most. And that's how you do the Elohim. And that's the behavior of a simple-minded woman. That's what the average general woman in this world does to a man who cares for her, because you see him as weak. Because you don't feel like you worthy of love. So we were just talking about this other night, and I've seen this in my youth. I've heard women say this out their mouth. Young women, I should say. Like, dude, treat them right. They like, what's wrong with him? Don't he know I'm a hoe? Something got to be wrong with him for him to be treating me like I'm a human being. I've heard women say this. I'm like, wow, you stupid. But I get it though. Your self-esteem so low, your self-value so low that somebody coming to treat you in a decent capacity and you hold that with disdain. Because you don't feel like you worthy of that. So you mistreat him. See, that's what we did to Elohim. He told you in 2 Chronicles 36, probably about verse 15, right? He said he son his prophet because he had compassion on his people and the place where he placed his aim at, but he said they mistreated them and slaughtered them because you didn't feel like you were worthy of love that was being extended unto you. You got to recall, in the book of Hosea, he told Hosea to go marry a whore so that the people would know the love that Yahuwah had for the sons of Yasharal, who love other gods and drink flagons of wine. That's what he said. He wanted you to know that this woman, this people acts like a whore. But not only not a whore, but has the unstable mind of a woman. Of a woman. He even showed you that in the second chapter, Hosea, because you say, I'm going to leave my husband. I'm going to go over here with Baal and get mistreated, and then come back over here and say, it's better for me to go back to my first husband. See, that's what women do. And see, it's not something for you to get upset about, because a woman's nature is a woman's nature. It is what it is. That's how she was made. You know what I'm saying? And what was she made to do? The same thing that you were made to do. See, you were made to serve your Elohim because you're his esteem. You're made in his likeness and image. The same way that a woman is made in the likeness and image of a man. She's the man esteem. She was made to serve him as you were made to serve the Lord. That's what you were created for. And you were taught in that arena. See, women in this generation, you're not taught to serve a man. So you feel like that's a horrible thing for you. You feel restricted. You know what I'm saying? You feel like you're not of value and you worthless because you selfish, because you thinking about yourself. You don't have it in your mind that it's about being in a one-minded, in one mind, one heart, one body with this man for the fulfilling of his will. That sounds familiar to you, does it not? Because that is something that we've already discussed. You're supposed to be one mind and one heart with your Elohim, fulfilling his will. It's the same thing. It's the same pattern. Because remember, in earth as it is in heaven, this is not to disparage anybody or say, oh, the woman is this or the woman is that. That is for you to understand that you as a man, you behave the same way as this woman who you upset about how she behaves towards you. You do that to your God. Because you're a woman to him, because you're a part of his body. You are his wife. We don't see that we behave that way. We steady scream about these women don't listen. Nigga, you don't listen. Why do you think women look at a man who don't listen and hearken to counsel and wisdom as a feminine creature? Because they know men are supposed to hearken to counsel and be instructed so that he can instruct her. Why would she trust you to yield to you and follow you if you can't teach her nothing? If you ain't got nothing to tell her, why is she going to listen to you? That's no different than why you ain't been listening. Or why he said other people who came, they were hirelings, and the sheep didn't flee from them. The sheep didn't listen to them. Because you ain't got nothing to tell me. So why would I listen to you? That's why our people scattered everywhere and they say, I don't deal with religion no more. I'm spiritual. Or why they fooling with Africans? They already know, man, these boys can't teach me nothing. I'm out. What I'm listening to you for? Man, it's all the same, man. I'm talking about life is life. Life is life. And when you get to understanding of the vantage point of Yahuwah and Yasharal, man, it's just extra simple. You can see it. It's clear. Understanding is made manifest. Then you'll be able to give the insight to individuals and give them the wisdom that they might live forever. Nevertheless, where I was at, man, I done lost my pay. Ain't that about a whore? I was going to Exodus 24. Thank you. Come over here to Exodus 24 and 1. That was delightful. He said unto Moses, Exodus 24 and 1, come up under Yahuwah, you, Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, and the 70 of the elders of Yasharal worship you afar off. Moses alone shall come near Yahuwah, but they shall not come near, neither shall they go up with him. Moses came and told the people the words of Yahuwah and all the judgments, and all the people answered with one voice and said, all the words which Yahuwah has said, we will do. Moses wrote all the words of Yahuwah, rose up early in the morning, building an altar under the hill, 12 pillars according to the 12 tribes of Yasharal. He sent young men of the sons of Yasharal, which earned burnt offerings, sacrificed peace offerings of oxen unto Yahuwah. Moses took half of the blood and put it in basins, and half of the blood he sprinkled on the altar. And he took the book of the covenant and read in the hearts of the people, and they said, all that Yahuwah has said we will do, and be obedient. They say, we believe it. It don't say obedient, it said believe. Shema. We hear it. We believe it. We believe it. Exodus 20 and 18. Now again, did you see that? You ain't see none of that. But see, that's the funny part, right? That's the part that be tripping me out when dudes, I don't believe in no Jesus, all that other type of stuff. You ain't see none of that stuff Moses did, but yet you believe that. But yet the advent that a man could be sacrificed and resurrected from the dead is far-fetched for you. How is it? Explain it to me, son. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. At the end of the day, this whole world hate God. See, I ain't on that other stuff. He said God. It's not God. That's a man. Bump all that what you talking about, cuz. You don't believe the word of Yahuwah, man. You know what I'm saying? And you know how I know? Listen to your conversation. Look at the stuff you talk about. Look at what you're concerned about. Well, you don't believe in it, man. Because your hope not set in it. Because if it was, that's all you would discuss. We were just talking about this as well, man. When that joy is strong, when that faith strong, when that love of Elohim strong, and that peace strong, you better believe that man dwelling with you in some form of capacity. Some form of capacity. When that self-control strong, that man, that word dwelling in you, man. That word dwelling in you. When you ain't doubting nothing in regards to his promises and his way, that man dwelling with you, man. See, he can't dwell with you when you don't believe it. Why would he? Why would he? Would you live in a house with somebody who don't believe in you? Who don't trust in you? Some of you men done been in that position, living with somebody who don't trust and believe in you, and you were utterly miserable. And you think you finna sit around? You think the living Elohim finna do that? Well, you high as all outdoors if you believe that. See, at the end of the day, you got to check yourself, man. Look in the mirror. Man already told you, commune with your own selves. Stand it all and sin not. I already told you. Man told you examine yourself lest you be reprobate. But we know you ain't reprobate. Again, when you look at people talk about reprobate all the time. And being reprobate is just being given over to your lusts. That's it. When you happen to where you always doing what you want to do, fulfilling what you want to do, versus fulfilling what your husband wants you to do, or you've been given over. You got to ask yourself that. Are you more concerned about doing what you want to do or what your husband wants you to do? And you can take that however you want. Shalom, you can take that however you want. You can take that however you want. You could take it natural, you could take it spiritual. You could take it however you want. But when you sitting around and you more worried about what you want to do versus what your husband needs done, you are not a good wife. Period. You're not. You know what I'm saying? And that's according to the word. It's not according to how I feel. And you can take it how you want. Because if you think I'm just talking about a woman, you sadly mistaken. You know what I'm talking about? You sadly mistaken. Yeah, there's a natural aspect to it. That ain't the only thing I'm referring to. Because what did the Lord tell you? I didn't come down from heaven to do my own will, but the will of him that sent me. Ain't that what he said? So I'm not concerned about fulfilling what I want to do. What I want to do is not even in the cards and compared to the grand scheme of things, according to the grand plan, according to the mystery of Elohim. Because if I do what I want to do, then my husband's will or my father's will is not going to be fulfilled, which means everything is out of whack. That's the mind that anybody who's going to be saved is going to have. That it's not about what I want to do. It's not about what I want to do. It's about fulfilling the will of him whom I say is my Elohim, it's my God, it's my power, it's my mighty one, who is my Redeemer and Savior. This man already made a statement where Paul said, he said, not I live, not I, but Mashiach who dwell in me. Do the word live in you, or is you still living? Because if you still living, you're going to hell. And you're going to hell because you didn't hear Moses and the prophets. Because if you would have heard Moses and the prophets, you would have heard Yahushua. And if you heard Yahushua, you would have heard the Father in heaven. And if you would have heard the Father in heaven, you would have came to the call. And when you came to the call, you would have hung yourself from the tree the same way the Son did, knowing that he will not suffer his Kadash one to see corruption. So your flesh would have rested in hope. It's a lot of people going to bust hell wide open. Because they don't believe not in there tapping his word. You know what I'm saying? They don't trust in it. They don't hope in it. They ain't got no resolve. I was talking to a brother who don't even know the word like that, but he know enough. My brother said point blank period. He said, "Boy, what you boy the day coming? Boy, they gonna kill you for this here. You ready for that?" Like, come on, man. Hey, I'm talking about he talking dead rich. You know, like I said, man, I talking to the brother. I say, man, I knew this brother had some sense. Because the first thing this man said is, boy, you know you're supposed to seek the kingdom first. Well, when somebody telling you that right there, man, no matter what level of wisdom or understanding they may got, at least know the key component, seek God first. Where bruise don't open their mouth and say that. That don't even be the first thing come out of most bruised mouth. That's the first thing came out of this man's mouth. Well, you better seek that kingdom first, boy. Everything else get added on to you. That's life. That's a man of faith right there. Guarantee you his faith probably stronger than most of these niggas out here who post and talk about word all day long. But that was the first thing came out of his mouth. I respect it. I respect that. Because that's what it's about. You seeking Elohim? If you seeking Elohim, that means you seeking eternal life. That means you got to believe that Elohim is and he's a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. You got to believe that. If you know you talking about seeking the kingdom first, you got to believe it. You got to. Ain't no way that be the first thing on your mind. Ask yourself, you seeking it? Is that what you seeking? You seeking everlasting life? Let's roll with it. Exodus 20:18, man. All the people saw the thunderings and the lightnings. Excuse me. The noise of the trumpet and the mountain smoking. When the people saw it, they removed and stood afar off. They said unto Moses, speak you with us, and we will hear. But let not Elohim speak with us, lest we die. Moses said unto the people, fear not, for Elohim has come to prove you, that his fear may be before your faces, that you sin not. And what are people still saying? He can't dare to their faith to prove him. They say, nah, we like sinning better. Sinning suits me. Ain't that sad? That's sad. That's where we at as a people, though. And we don't even care to try to tighten that up. I don't think we looked at Zayn. I think we'll pick Zayn in Psalm 119. So I'll go ahead and knock it out now because Zayn was in there. Where you can come back to Psalm 78. You remember Zayn is a plowing tool. It's to harvest. It's food, to dig up, to be fruitful, to cut off, and a weapon and nourish. So when we go back to Azan, which is to hear and to listen, to be obedient and to hearken, you can get Jeremiah 7:20 now that I'm thinking about that. You sit back and you can look at that, how the strength or the father or the head nourishes a seed or trains a seed, teaches a seed, if you will. Remember what he tell you, train up a child and in the way that he should go and he will not depart. If you recall in Ephesians, it tell you that a man should nourish or nurture his wife, which is to nourish her or to train her up. You know what I'm saying? To bring to maturity. So you see how the head or the strength or the father or the leader, you know what I'm saying, nourishes a seed. Not seeds of many, but seeds of one, that seed being Mashiach. He trains it and he brings it to maturity. But the only way that he can bring that seed to maturity is that that seed has to hear the word. See, now that I say that there, right? I forgot what I just said. I meant it. It's all good. I want you to come to Luke chapter 8, though. To come to Luke chapter 8 by verse 13. Excuse me, verse 10. Brother Adams just mentioned this the other day, last week, so we're going to look at it again because it's always good to know and to hear, to consider, to make sure that you're assessing yourself, to know where you at. And he said, this is Luke chapter 8 and verse 10. And he said, unto you it is given to know the mysteries of the kingdom of Elohim, but to others in parables, that seeing they might not see, and hearing they might not understand. Now this is the parable. The seed is the word of Elohim. Remember, he said he would see his seed prosper. Again, not seeds of many, but seeds of one, that seed being Mashiach. Again, seed referring to offspring, because you would be birthed into becoming sons of Elohim. Well, you can only be sons of Elohim because you believed on his name. Well, you can only believe on his name because you heard Moses and the prophets. You could only hear Moses and the prophets because you believed it. And you haven't seen any of that. You didn't see Elijah. You've never seen Elisha. You never saw Isaiah. You never saw Ezekiel. You never saw Malachi. You didn't see Amos. You didn't see Haggai. You never saw Nathan. You never saw Samuel. You never saw David. You never saw Solomon. You never saw any of these men. Regardless of archaeological artifacts and finds to prove their existence, you believe that these men existed on the strength of a word because you did not see it. You never saw Peter. You never saw Paul, James, John, Matthew, none of them. The sons of Zebedee, you never saw any of these men. And you certainly have never seen Yahusha. So you believe in everything that these men, that is written of these men, on the strength of a word. On the strength of a word. That's what makes you blessed. Because you didn't see any of that. But do you know, man, come on, man. I just really want y'all to sit back and think in your mind how serious that is. Do you know how beautiful of a thing that is for this man to open your heart to believe him on the strength of a word for something that you did not lay your eyes on? That means that's an unwavering devotion, hope, and trust in the living Elohim because you believe him on the strength of something that he said. You've never heard his voice. You've never seen his shape. You've never seen any of that. You believe in this man on the strength of a word. Praise Elohim in the name of Yahushua. See, that's something different. That's something different. See, everybody ain't cut for that. Everybody ain't trying to hear that. You understand? Come on, man. 8 and 12, Luke. Those by the wayside are they that hear. Then come the devil and take away the word out of their hearts, lest they should believe and be saved. So guess what? There's some people, they hear it. The whisper, the slander, man, that junk ain't real. That's that white man stuff. Snatch it right up out their chest, man. Snatch it right up out their chest, man. You don't believe none of the here. Let me get that up off. You don't need it. You don't believe it. You don't need it. What you need that for, my nigga? They on the rock. They on the rock are they which when they hear they receive the word with joy. These have no root, which for a while believe in the time of temptation fall away. So you remember, right? Bear fruit upward, but take root downward, to bear fruit upward. Yeah, and that's the one I done seen the most. That's the one I done seen the most. Boy, I ain't never heard nothing like this before. Woo, woo, woo. Situations and circumstances occur. Now these boys off on something else. And I'm not just talking about people who I done directly been around. I'm talking about just overall in 11 years. That's the one I done seen the most. Ain't had no root. You ain't believe it. So when you got tempted, you out of here. I don't deal with this no more. This folly, this foolishness. But I will tell you this here. Can't nobody make you lose your faith. You lying to me. Can't nobody make you lose no faith. That's just a cop-out. That's just a cop-out. You didn't believe it anyway. And you're using other people as your justification for not doing something that you didn't believe in, make you feel better. Justify yourself on the inside, make you feel better for what you're doing. Can't nobody make you lose faith because faith is inward. You shook my faith. No, ain't nobody shake your faith. Somebody can overthrow your faith. See, that's a different conversation. And the only way somebody can overthrow your faith is to cause you to doubt in Mashiach, who the Father has sent. People walk away from the word completely. It wasn't never in your heart. Let me tell you something, man. I wouldn't occur what goes down in your life. If you believe in the living Elohim, you're going to serve him regardless of what goes on or happens to you. It doesn't matter. If you believe it, but see, that go back to something else. You know what I'm saying? That most people don't believe the word is something to do the pastime. And when they tired of pretending, you know what I'm saying? Or they tired of dealing with it and they, you know, I'm enticed by this over here. See, I'm fully persuaded, man. I don't care nothing about all this other stuff dudes be talking about, but that's your business, my G. Roll with it. That what work for you. That make you feel good on the inside. As for me and my house, we gonna serve you. That's what we own, cuz. I ain't mad at you. In the end, we gonna see who the living Elohim is. That's all I can think. And they which fell among the thorns are they which when they heard go forth and are choked with the cares and riches and pleasures of this life and bring no fruit to perfection. And that's one that's neck and neck with the other. There are people who have been in the word for years and ain't been made complete. Because you worry about this and you worry about that and you worry about this. You're not seeking the kingdom first, knowing that all those things that you're caring about be added unto you. You can't live your life worrying about pleasure. Because pleasure gets you killed. Pleasure had you broke. Don't be no fool. But that on the good ground are they which in an honest and good heart, having heard the word, keep it and bring forth fruit with patience. No man, when he have lighted a candle, cover it with a vessel and put it under a bed, but set it on a candlestick, that they which may enter in may see the light. For nothing the secret shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad. Take heed, therefore, how you hear. For whosoever hath, to him shall be given, and whosoever hath not, from him shall be taken even that which he seen he had. Oh, you think you got a little son? He say, take heed how you hear. Now look at the key point, what he told you, better take heed how you listen. You better pay attention. Let me read that to you again. Take heed, therefore, how you hear, for whosoever have, to him shall be given. Whosoever have not, from him shall be taken even that which he seen that. See, come over here to Hebrews chapter 2. See that man say, he that hear, he say he gonna increase you. Him that have not, what you think you know, he said, I'm gonna take that from you. So you could go all through the text with that right there. So you could take that right there with David and Saul. He didn't have not, and what he did have, he took it from him. Because David here, he increased him. That's right. That's how you got to look at it, David and Saul. And that's an example. Take heed how you hear. You better take heed how you hear the word. You better take heed to where your ears are at. Hebrews 2:1, right? He said, therefore, we ought to give the more earnest heed to the things which we have heard, lest any time we should let them slip. Oh, no. Take more earnest heed to the things you done heard now. Because that man will take that word right up out your heart, man. It'll be stuck, man, I used to know that. I don't know that because you don't hear. You didn't believe it. So since you didn't take earnest heed to what you heard, it come right out your heart. He take it right on the way. Come on here to Jeremiah chapter 7. That's what I want. 7:20. I'm gonna read that verse to you one more time before we get around that, man. I didn't want y'all to let that resonate in your brain. That resonate in your mind. That man say, take heed therefore how you hear. For whosoever have, to him shall be given. Whosoever have not, from him shall be taken even that which he seemed to have. He said, you seem to have a little bit of faith. You seem to have a little bit of word. That man said, I'm going to take that from you, boy. I'm going to snatch that right up out your chest. That ain't what you want. That ain't what you want. 7:20, man. You can make it 7:17. Jeremiah 7:17. Matter of fact, 7:21. Get straight on to it. 7:21. Jeremiah 7:21. Thus saith Yahuwah of hosts, the Elohim of Yasharal, put your burnt offerings unto your sacrifices and eat flesh. For I speak not unto your fathers, nor commanded them in the day that I brought them out of the land of Mizraim concerning burnt offerings or sacrifices. But this thing commanded I them, saying, obey my voice. And I will be your Elohim, and you shall be my people. Walk you in all the ways that I've commanded you, that it might be well with you. But they hearken not, nor inclined their ear, but walked in the counsels and in the imagination of their evil heart, and went backwards and not forward. See what he said? He said, I ain't never taught them about no burnt offerings or sacrifice. I told them, listen to me. That's what I told them to do. I told them to shamar. They didn't want to do that. See, that's a reoccurring theme throughout this text. That's why people always took me out. See, faith is stuck in man. Man, faith is you believe you hear what the man telling you, yo. That's what he told you. It's just that simple. They try to bring the Christian stuff to it. You know what it is. You know what Shema, to hear, to listen, to obey, to consent, to agree, to obey, to be obedient, to be heard of, to be heard of, to be obeyed. He said, obey my voice and I will be your Elohim and you shall be my people. That man said, if you believe in him, he'll be your God. And you'll be his people. It's that simple. He says, since this is verse 25 of the 7th chapter of the book of Jeremiah, since the day that your fathers came forth out of the land of Mizraim unto this day, I have even sent unto you all my servants, the prophets, daily rising up early and sending them. Yet they hearken not unto me, nor incline their ear, but harden their neck. They did worse than their fathers. Therefore, you shall speak all these words unto them, for they will not hearken to you. You shall also call unto nations that obey not who of their Elohim, nor receive correction. Truth is perished and is cut off from their mouths. So when you don't listen, that man say truth will perish from you, and that word gonna be cut right out of your mouth. This what the man tell you. He said, man, you know what? Go to Ezekiel 2, right? In just a second. He told him the same thing. He told him that Amunah now, he said that firmness, that fidelity, that steadfastness, that steadiness, that joint, they're dead, son. It's a bar, it's perished, it's gone astray, it's destroyed, it's lost, it's exterminated, it's gone. Your faith is gone. And he said, I'm gonna cut it off out of your mouth. That's Karab. That's Kaf, Raj, and Tau. So you know what the man done did? The highest done subdued that covenant. Let me go ahead and break that with you. Let me go ahead and break that with you. But that ain't in your heart no more. That take you back. Take heed, therefore, how you hear. Because what you think you have, he gonna take that. At the end of the day, that's why we in the position right now as a whole, as a people, scattered in these four corners of the earth. Because you ain't believe the man. And that's why you don't hear nobody talking about no faith like that. Because it's gone. It's been gone for many a day. And praise be to Elohim in the name of Yahushua. It's a small remnant of people in each corner of this earth that he gave it to. You know what I'm saying? I heard a brother say this here today. He wasn't necessarily referring to the word specifically in this statement, but I understood what he meant. He say sometimes, man, you look at when you saying something or you doing something and you go on in a particular, sometimes you go to thinking to yourself, Am I going the right way? Because ain't nobody going with you. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes he was like, sometimes Elohim will manifest certain things to let you know, boy, you're going the right way. So you're supposed to remember that because Yahushua already told you broad is the way. Wide is the gate, broad is the way that lead into destruction. And many there be that go therein, and straight is the gate. And narrow is the way that lead unto life. And it be few that find it. Few. Now I'm telling you that if you be thinking sometime, am I going the right way? It don't seem too many people going on this trip. You know you probably are going the right way. That's why I ain't never, that's again, reiterating that fact earlier, that unity over doctrine. I'm not trying to go where everybody going. Because I know if everybody going, I'm going the wrong way. I think the Lord, I always want to be different and never wanted to really be doing what everybody else is doing. You know what I'm saying? I'm just going to be me. I'm into what I'm into. I'm going to do what it is that I do. I don't want to do what you're doing. Nothing against you and what you're doing, but that's what you're doing. I don't want to be like you. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel the need to follow a crowd. I don't feel the need to want to be down and be accepted. For what? My self-esteem is not that low. Do I feel like I need to fit in? I don't want to fit in. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to be me when I walk in the room. How some people be like this here, you know what I mean? Like, man, I ain't coming in the room. I don't care if none of these niggas like me. I mean, come on, how arrogant and prideful is that? That you walk in a room and that's the first thing you think about. I don't care if none of these niggas like me. That's just an instinctive thing. If you don't like me, then so be it. That's no loss. That's just how you feel. If you don't want to vibe with me, that's your loss. That ain't no loss to me. Because I know the value that I can bring to you. I'm hoping you can bring some value to me. That's how a functional minded person is going to think when they step into a room. I know that I have value to add to anyone who I come across. And I'm hoping you got value to add to me. Because I heard a brother talking about this here, talking about people shouldn't be using people. Well, what you got people around you that ain't useful to you for? See, the problem is that people misuse people. See, there's a difference of being useful and misusing. You should have people that are useful to you. You're useful to them. That means you're adding value to each other. That doesn't mean you're conducting business. That means there's a value that you have. There's a value. You're mutually beneficial to one another. That's where you can be mutually beneficial to the group as a whole. That's just common sense. You want a bunch of people around you. Can't nobody do nothing for nobody. But I know he my friend, though. How dumb is that? You know what I'm saying? Nigga, you too old for that. You know what I'm saying? If this brother got this skill, he can add value to that and that skill. You got this skill, you add value to the group and that. See, that's what dudes be talking about coming together, but they'll compromise their principles to do it. So you can come together and not compromise your principles. And our principle is the key principle. And that's Yahushua HaMashiach and Kadash living. And that will not be compromised in any shape, form, or fashion, in any situation or circumstance for no man or woman who breathes under heaven. That's just not going to happen. That is just non-negotiable. That cannot happen. That cannot happen. You know what I'm saying? See, misusing people is taking advantage of someone for their resources for your own selfish motivation. See, that's a you problem. There's something wrong with you. You're not right. You know what I'm saying? That's not right. You know what I'm talking about? See, people don't understand people or have any concern for people who add massive value to them. Because see, we were just having this conversation not too long ago. Today, a few hours ago, to be honest. The brother was telling the brother that, like, yo, like, nigga, you hearing what this man telling you, boy? What's wrong with you? Somebody taking time out their day to give you some game. See, that's why when you run across business people and you be like, let me pick your brain, and they look at you like you stupid, because these people time is valuable. And you think somebody's supposed to take time out their day to add value to you, and you ain't bringing no value to them. How is that a fair exchange? That means you feel like you entitled and you deserve that this person is supposed to give you something that they don't have to give you. See, that's why we had that mindset with Elohim. You don't deserve his mercy and salvation. He don't owe you that. He don't have to give you that. He took time to come down from Shamahim and die and resurrect from the dead for you. He did that because that's who he was showing you the value that he adds. And you can't turn back around and add value back to him. How that work? You know what I'm saying? How that work? At the end of the day, we done talked about this before. You got men walking around here trying to prove themselves to a woman when a woman supposed to be proving herself to the man. Because Yahuwah don't prove himself to you for you to say, oh, I want to be married to him. No, he going to test, try, and prove you to see if you worthy of him. See, we got the game backwards. You got the game backwards. This man got to break his neck to prove to you he a good man. But you ain't doing nothing. You mean to tell me Yahuwah got to break his neck to prove to you he the living Elohim and you ain't doing nothing? Man, you got to be stupid. You know what I'm saying? That don't even make sense. That don't even make sense. That means the person who's superior is putting himself in an inferior situation and circumstance, and that will never yield to the honor, reverence, and respect due to his authority. That will never yield to that. That will never yield to it. There's never, and I thank the Lord, because it's only because of him. It ain't never ran across my mind that I felt like he had to prove to me that he was God for me to serve him. Once it clicked in my mind by the grace of Yahushua that the whole book was true, it wasn't nothing he needed to prove to me. He had already said it. I'm looking at it, I need to prove myself to him to be accepted of him. You don't need to prove, what does he need to prove to me for me to say, yes, I'll serve you. I'll be your wife. Nigga, get out of here. That's pride and arrogancy and entitlement. I'm not entitled to anything. Nothing in life, ever. Nobody owes you anything. No one, not even your parents. They don't owe you nothing. Because if they fed you and clothed you and housed you, they don't owe you nothing. They don't owe you nothing at all. That's what he said. Praise the Lord. That's what he said. So did. They don't owe you nothing, bro. Yahuwah don't owe you nothing. You owe him. He don't owe you nothing. You disobeyed him. You don't trust him. What he owe you? When you meet a man don't owe you nothing. When you feel like he got to take me out, he got to do this. For what? For what? For what? If a man take you out, he take you out because that's what he wanted to do. He's like, you know what? I'm hungry. I like your company. I like for you to accompany me to this location. I don't have a problem paying for that. But I'm not paying for that because I feel like I owe you that. But to impress you, it's just I desire your company. And I'm hungry. And I know you hungry. Because it's very rarely that a woman ain't hungry. Especially if you're paying for it. You know what I'm talking about? So come through with me. But see, now this whole world, they done got women feel like a man supposed to do that. That ain't no date. Hold on. What you mean? Why you got it in your brain? I'm supposed to come through and spend $200, $300, $400 on you. I don't even know you. I don't even know you. I don't even know you. I never understood that. I didn't understand that as a kid. You know what I'm saying? Why am I spending all that? I don't even know you, cuz. To impress you? Well, if it's gonna cost me $200, $300 to impress you, you just somebody I don't want around me. Because I ain't never thought in my life I need to spend the money to impress somebody. My people taught me better than that. My mom and my auntie taught me better than that. My granddaddy taught me better than that. You don't spend no money to impress nobody. I don't care about impressing you. And that's why you see the beauty of the Lord. Because he made himself poor that we might be rich. He didn't come through here with nothing to impress you. He ain't come through here nothing to impress you. You was going to be impressed by his character and his spirit, or you wasn't going to be impressed at all. Thank the Lord. See how that's beautiful? How he do things? He could have came down here, draped, balled out, rich, everything. He could have did all that, and he didn't. He came down here a poor man, a carpenter's son. Had nowhere to lay his head at. That's how he came. And he still broke bread with you. But he broke bread with you because the type of man he is, not because he felt like he owed you. See, that's love right there, but that's a love we can't comprehend. Psalm 78. Psalm 78:1. See, this is stuff I be thinking on from time to time. You know, you look at how this man love you, and how he move, what he do. You know what I'm saying? What he do. So of course we live in a materialistic society now. So people feel like they can buy love, or there's certain things that they have to do to impress somebody to show this person that they love them. You know what I'm saying? Long. That's how a lot of people roll with it. You know what I mean? And you don't got to do that. You should love somebody. The spirit and character that the person possesses should show you that. A buster can take you out to a $300 dinner. A buster can take you all type of places. That don't mean that this is a man of good character, of godly character, and that he's solid. The book tell you that they give gifts to all whores. He told you gifts blind the eyes of the wise. You know what I'm saying? Because you know that people do these type of things to curry favor in order to deceive. You know what I'm saying? So you have to know that. That don't mean nothing. That don't mean nothing. You should know when somebody do something genuine because they don't seek anything in return for you when they do it. Nevertheless, Psalm 78:1. Give ear, O my people, to my Torah, incline your ears to the words of my mouth. I will open my mouth in a parable, and I will utter dark sayings of old, which we have heard and known, our fathers have told us. We will not hide them from their sons, showing to generation to come the praises of Yahuwah and his strength and his wonderful works that he have done. For he established a testimony in Jacob and appointed a Torah in Yasharal, which he commanded our fathers that they should make them known to their sons, that the generation to come might know them, even the sons which should be born, who should arise and declare them to their sons, that they might set their hope in Elohim and forget not the works of Elohim, but keep his commandment. Notice that he said that he appointed a law and he commanded our fathers that he should make them known. But he said that these parables, he told them that he would show them to a generation to come. Now, when we look at showing, it's safar, right? Which is to recount or to retell, right? You remember that. Samak, Pei, and Raj. Grab hold to the words of the highest. Now I want you to come back over here to Don. That's what he's telling you to do. Recount and to retell. Do I want John? I'll take John. So you're supposed to recount and retell to the generation to come. We're supposed to steady, because look at the key thing, how he ended it, that they might set their hope in Elohim. Not ended it, because that's this chapter is way longer than 7 verses. But in verse 7. Let me make sure it's 20. We just read 20 the other day. See, 21 came to my mind, but I'm not sure if 21 really has what we need to get the job done. It does. John chapter 21 has exactly what I desire. I'll pick it up at verse 15. After we do that, I want to go to 1 Peter chapter 1. Because at the end of the day, for us to believe, we have to recount and retell the tale. So everybody look at, okay, it's Passover, but you're keeping Passover to tell your sons how you were delivered out of Egypt. Now we keep Passover to tell our sons how we were delivered from sin. You're recounting the day of the trumpets is coming up. Well, what were trumpets about? You know, the blowing of the trumpets for the moving of the assemblies, for the sounding of war. Now you're recounting and retelling that these trumpets will be blown for the coming of the Lord. You look at the Day of Atonement, the day of reconciliation, or the purging of sin for the people. See, I've said this for years because we don't participate. Well, I don't. I know I told y'all can do what you like. I will not do it. All that stuff about getting online, if I offended anybody and going to make up for people on the Day of Atonement is not about you reconciling with somebody you trespassed against, because you're supposed to do that anyway. The 10th day of the 9th month is not for that cause. The Day of Atonement, according to this law and this word, is for the atonement of the sins of the house of Asherah. You understand? So when you look at the Day of Atonement, you were looking at that, understanding that Yahushua was the purging and reconciliation of your sins. So when you afflict your soul, you're afflicting your soul in the same way that he afflicted his soul by being hanged from that tree. Therefore, suffering in the flesh, you can cease from sin. He that suffered in the flesh no longer serves sin, but lives the rest of his time in his flesh to the will of Elohim and not to the lusts of men. That was supposed to be your mind supposed to be at on Day of Atonement. Most bruised mind ain't on that because they lack understanding. Dudes arguing about can you fast or not? I'm not understanding you're afflicting your soul to understand that you're suffering into flesh to stop sin because your sins were purged on that day because a man suffered. So when you understand that, if you know that this man suffered unto death, and all you're denying yourself is from his food and water for a 24-hour period, then you can suffer in your flesh and deny any desire that is contrary to the will of Elohim that may arise. This is simple understanding, very simple and easy to impart to a child. Because we just see that in Psalm 78. You got to be able to tell this stuff to your children, to your son specifically. Why to your son specifically? Because he has to teach it to his wife and his household. This is why in every generation you see them killing your sons, because the sons are the leaders. They're the hallmark and the vanguard. That's how it's continued. That's how it's continued. You know what I'm saying? Like you want to have as many sons as you possibly can, if you would permit. That keeps the generation of his bloodline going in order to continue to recount. Because if you have daughters are a beautiful thing, but when you have a daughter, she can't keep your bloodline going. You're going to pass her off to another man who's going to place his seed in her, and it's his responsibility to guide, lead, and direct her and teach her. Once you give her to her, because you've completed your task, you've transferred her to her husband. Now that's her husband's responsibility. You know what I'm saying? But as a man, you'll always forever be teaching your son, even when he's married. Any man with wisdom knows he's not going to overstep his bounds and disrespect the authority of his daughter's husband by trying to tell her this and tell her that. He's going to understand I got to relinquish that responsibility. I've given her to her husband. Now, of course, you know there's very nuance in that. You know what I'm saying? You see certain stuff, but it's in general, you know, but your son, your boy, oh, you're going to be schooling your boy till the day you die. That's your boy. That's my son. Come here, son. Sit down here with me, man. Pick this thing with me, young boy. Come holler at me, boy. I got something to tell you. Now, your wife may do that with your daughter. You know what I'm saying? When she done got married, you know, come here, baby. Let me tell you a couple things now. Because I see you. Let me give you some little game. Keep your husband happy. But you ain't going to direct and teach her no more once you give it to her husband. Because you ought to have trusted that you gave it to a wise enough man that he can handle that precious responsibility. That you wouldn't be concerning yourself with that. You're only concerning yourself with that because you're not comfortable with the level of wisdom and knowledge and understanding that the man who your daughter is married to is, and that's your fault. John 21:15. So when they had dined, Yahushua said to Simon Peter, Simon of Jonas, love you me more than these? He said unto him, yea, Lord, you know that I love you. He said unto him, feed my lamb. He said to him again the second time, Simon, son of Jonas, love you me? He said unto him, yea, Lord, you know that I love you. He said unto him, feed my sheep. He said unto him the third time, Simon, son of Jonah, love you me? Peter was grieved because he said unto him the third time, love you me? And he said unto him, Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you. Yahushua said unto him, feed my sheep. Truly, truly, I say unto you, when you were young and you gird yourself and walk whither you would, but when you shall be old, you shall stretch forth your hands, and another shall gird you and carry you whither you would not. This spake he, signifying what death he should esteem Elohim. And when he had spoken this, he said unto him, follow me. Peter, turning about, see the disciple whom Yahushua loved, following, which also leaned on his breast at supper, and said unto the Lord, which is he that betray you? Peter, seeing him, say to Yahushua, Lord, what shall this man do? Yahushua said unto him, if I will that he wait till I come, what is that to you? Follow you me. You see, that's how you know the Lord of man. What I got to do with you, bro? If I told him to sit right here till I get here, that ain't got nothing to do with you. You need to go do what I told you to do. And see, that's what a lot of people problem is. Because you worry about what this person doing, and you worry about what this person doing. See, when I say that, I'm talking about dudes who say the Lord, son, to teach the word, but you worry about what all these other dudes over here talking about, and all these, who what that got to do with you? What he told you to do. See, one thing you can't never do in life is accomplish your task when you worry about what everybody else is doing. If you got a task and a purpose to accomplish, you need to be focused on that. What other people doing with their task and purpose, what they got to do with you? Because while you watching them, you ain't doing your work. I ain't worried about what the person over here doing. Will I check dudes out? What they talking about when I got the time? Absolutely. But if you think I'm following every ministry and what every person talking about, I don't know what these dudes be talking about, man. I don't listen to them. I'm not watching their videos. And that's not no disrespect to none of them. Oh, I'm too above all that. It's not that. They doing their job. I'm doing mine. I can't be worried about what he over here doing. And I ain't worried about what I'm doing. That's it. If I can catch a dude what they talking about, I'm going to check them out. Just on general principle. I like the word too. I ain't got to be the one to spit it. But if you think that I'm focused on what other people are doing, then that means I'm not focused on what I'm focused on. That's what you're supposed to understand as a man. You can't be, that ain't just with preaching a word. You can't accomplish nothing when you worry about what other people are doing. That means you're not focused on what you're supposed to be doing. And therefore, your work is going to suffer. You know what I'm saying? It's really that simple. Your work is going to suffer because you're not focused. See, I know most brews feel like, man, you can't be like that. You got to check other people out. Not if you have a job to do. You think Peter was worried about what other people would? Come on, man. Them boys was walking around, man. Them boys said, these boys don't walk with us. The Lord say, man, if they be with us, they can't be against us. He ain't sitting around worrying about, oh, they don't walk with us. They don't know nothing. Don't worry about that. If that's what I set them up to go do, then let them do it. Because I'm over here doing this here, and you over here with me doing it, and you worry about them. Or if they down with me, they can't be against me. Leave them people alone, man. You worry about what I got you doing. You worry about what they doing. What's wrong with you? You know what I'm saying? But that's a man. I got something to do. That's why he told him that. What if I told him to wait here till I come? What that got to do with you? What that got to do with you? Go over here and feed my sheep like I told you to do. You worry about what he doing. He doing what I told him to do. Is you doing what I told you to do? See, when somebody got time to say they sent by the Lord and they worrying about what other people doing, the Lord ain't sent them. That mean you don't. That doesn't mean you can't give respect due when respect is due. But you can't be around here. I wonder what. Why I'm to see what this brother talking about. This brother talking about. This brother talking about. Then when it's time for you to put your work on the street, don't go trash. You know what I'm talking about? Or you spending your whole time talking about what this nigga talking about. That's what women do. You're a grown man. Come on, man. Verse 23. Then went, this is John 21 and 23. Then went this saying abroad among the brethren that the disciples should not die. Yet Yahushua said, not unto him he shall not die. But if I will that he will wait till I come, what is that to you? This is the disciple which testified these things and wrote these things. We know that his testimony is true. There are many other things which Yahushua did, the which if they should be written every one, I suppose that even the world itself cannot contain the books that should be written. Most of y'all should already know that from Psalms 40. But for those of you who don't know, because I know it's somebody on here who don't know, that's just law of averages. We just come over here and look at it. Because those of you who do know, y'all already know what it says. We'll pick it up at verse 1, Psalms 40. Y'all already know it. You know, winners focus on their task, losers focus on everybody else. Period. As the old saying in the street go, you got to mind the business that pays you. I can't mind your salvation don't pay me. So therefore I'm not paying attention to that. Like I say, it's brothers that's all right with me who drop work. That boy Zadok, that boy Phil Mo, my man Quab and Trav, you know, but I don't sit around and watch everything them boys come out. Sometimes I catch it, sometimes I don't. Now, with a case of Trav, I talk with Trav on a consistent basis. So that's a little different. But man, I don't be sitting around taking what he do. Let me watch the whole thing. And I ain't sitting back looking at, they ought to be looking at what I'm talking about. Not if they doing what they supposed to be doing, they doing what they doing. With the exception of one of them brothers, these men I can call. If we want to sit around and talk about some word, I can call Trav Quab and say, I can call him on the phone, bro. What's happening? But shoot, but what you went over, what you was going over the other day. What we were going over here on this side, man. Oh, word. Oh, that's what's happening. I can do that. That's a different dichotomy. That's a different conversation. I didn't even know, nigga, that just keep talking about trash. No, I know these men. I mean, we can have conversations about the word, and it's not a pissing contest. That's a beautiful thing when you can sit down and have a conversation about the word, and it's because, hey, man, everybody just want to hear the word. Well, this is understanding I got on this. Tell me how you see this right here. Okay, I can see that, but no, I don't see that in that fashion. This is how I see it. And if you agree, you agree. If you don't, you don't. But see, that's the difference I told you before. That's when men are actually friends. The way if they don't share the same viewpoint, it ain't no pressure. I don't do that nigga. How in the world? See, it's dudes, man, that I'm talking about. It's several men over the course of time. I have no respect for. You know what I'm saying? There was a dude who was selling out about me to somebody and didn't know I was sitting right next to the person where they were on the phone with him and heard every word they said. And I ain't never said a word to him about it. I just let them have that. I'm like, well, I don't respect you no more. And I ain't fooling with you no more. And then had a nerve to sell out by me because I'm not fooling with you or doing what you want me to do. Not knowing, I heard what you said, cuz. I ain't did nothing to you. Because you disagree about something, I ain't did nothing to you, cuz. For you to disrespect me in that fashion, you ain't never called and said none of this to me. Nigga, I don't respect that. I don't respect that. You know what I'm talking about? All to get somebody to come over where you at and what you do. But you ain't got to mention me to do that. If you got good work, what you talking down on my work for? I ain't never understood that. If your product good, you ain't got to say nothing else about nobody else. You ain't got to say nothing about nobody else. You ain't got, each make good music. Each ain't got to talk down on nobody's music and his music to get somebody to listen to it. Will ain't got to talk down on nobody's music to get nobody to listen to it. My work sell itself. I know my work good. What I'm talking down on yours for? See, that's what the Pharisees did to the Lord. They knew their work was trash. So they would talk down on the man while he ain't there. If your work was good, it wouldn't matter. You wouldn't take no place in nation. If your work was good, it would be lockstep. You wouldn't lose nothing. Your work trash. You see him, he coming on the block, but that dope fight. That man heal all those that's oppressed of the devil. He's feeding the people. Not only feeding the people with sustenance because they were following him, he's filling them with birds of living bread. He's showing forth the praises and power of Elohim before the people. You got to talk down on them to get them to come follow after you. But they ain't following after you for what you're selling. You're selling trash. You know what I'm saying? Straight point blank, period point blank, man. You can see that jump, man. Anybody who got good product in any avenue of life, they ain't got to sell it to nobody. They sell itself. Like people like to tell you, Lamborghini don't run no commercials. Rolls Royce don't run no commercials. Products that have great value don't have to. They sell itself. Only time you see commercials with stuff all the time because the product trash. So they got to persuade you and convince you and manipulate you into buying it. Let me rephrase that. When they have to put out a product and talk down to their competitors. When you know what you're doing is stand up. See, that's one thing about Yahuwah. Who will let you know that the other idols of other nations are nothing, but he ain't spend all this time talking down on them for what? I already know they trash. I ain't got to do that. I'm Yahuwah, the living Elohim, the creator of Shamahim and Aras, the maker of men, the creator of all, the mighty one of Yasharal, the Elohim who is of judgment and righteousness. I ain't got to talk down on no fake God for what? That's lowering myself. How dare I? I wish I might. I wish I would. You got to understand that. That's confidence. Remember, we talked about that. being bold as a lion, that's confidence and hope. You can't have that boldness when you don't have that level of confidence. Man, Yahuwah is self-existent and self-sustaining. What need he needs to talk down on anybody? That's weakness within himself. And we know a lot of things, but we know Yahuwah ain't got no weaknesses. And if he did, the weakness of Elohim is stronger than the greatest strength of man. Let that be known. But let's continue. Psalms 40. I waited patiently for Yahuwah. Indeed, Kira, indeed. Psalms 40 and 1. I waited patiently for Yahuwah, and he inclined unto me and heard my cry. He brought me up also out of a horrible pit, out of the miry clay, set my feet upon a rock, and established my goings. Y'all know that's the resurrection of the dead. He put a new song in my mouth, even praise unto our Elohim. Many shall see it and fear and shall trust in Yahuwah. Many people trusted in Yahuwah after Yahushua rose from the dead. Praise the Lord. Blessed is the man that make Yahuwah his trust, and respect not the proud, nor such turn aside the lie. Let me just read that first half again just for you one time. Blessed is the man that make Yahuwah his trust. One more time for you. Blessed is the man that make Yahuwah his trust. Blessed is the man that make Yahuwah his trust, and respect not the proud, nor such as turn aside to lies. Many, O Yahuwah, my Elohim, are your wonderful works, which you have done, and your thoughts, which are to us word, they cannot be reckoned up in order unto you. If I would declare and speak of them, they're more than can be known. We can't, it would fail. We would fail to be able to enumerate and recount and retell all the wonderful works of Elohim. We wouldn't be able to do it. But what we do have, we need to tell it to our sons. We need to show it to them. You know what I'm saying? You need to safari. You need to recount it. You need to retell it. See, come over here to Acts chapter 3. That's the only thing we've been saying for the last 8 years. To preach that gospel, man. Recount and retell the works of Elohim. I ain't finna sit around here and talk to you about Jacob all day. Talk to you about Abraham, all we the people. Keep these laws. No, I'm finna recount and retell everything Yahuwah done for us. That's what I'm gonna do. That's what I'm gonna do. We could sprinkle all that other stuff in. It's there. Only thing we ain't gonna talk about, I ain't finna talk to you about being no Israelite. I mean, for what? I don't care nothing about not being no Israelite. You got to be a son of Elohim to enter into this man kingdom. But the gates named after the 12 tribes. So you're right. You ain't no son of God. You ain't got no right to inheritance. You're not getting in. Israelite that, sir. Israelite that. At the end of the day. He that overcometh, he shall be I shall be his Elohim, and he shall be my son, and he will inherit all things. That man say, if you overcome, you will inherit that you will rule over the nations with a rod of iron and break them into pieces of a potter's vessel, and I will give you the morning star, even as I received of my father. That's what he told me. So you got to become a son of Elohim to step into this place. Being an Israelite is not sufficient. It's not sufficient. You got to be of the promise. If you're not of the promise, you're not getting in. You can take that how you want to take it, but you're going to have to take that up with the Lord. But you ain't going to take it up with me, because I'm not going to argue with you about it, because I don't care if you believe it or not. I personally just don't. You don't have to receive it. I'm going to dust my feet off on you, and I'm going to keep it moving. Because I already know that the word of Elohim is true, and that Yahushua is his anointed one, his redeemer, and every word out of his mouth is spirit and truth, and shall surely come to pass. So how you feel about it means absolutely nothing to me. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have to take that up with the Lord. Ain't my word. I didn't make the promise. I didn't set the parameters. I ain't set the regulations. I just got to be in line with them. I would implore you to do the same. You know what I'm saying? You can do what you want to. Acts chapter 3, right? Verse 19. Make it verse 18. Praise Elohim. You know, give thanks to the living God, man. For he's worthy to be praised, and his mercy endures. So let's look and see, right? For those things which Elohim have showed before, showed by the mouth of all his prophets, that Mashiach should suffer, he has so fulfilled. Repent you therefore and be converted, that your sins may be blotted out, when the times of refreshing shall come from the presence of the Lord. He shall send Yahushua HaMashiach, which was before preached unto you, whom Shamahim must receive until the times of restitution of all things which Elohim have spoken by the mouth of all his Kadash prophets since the world began. For Moses truly said unto the fathers, the prophet shall Yahuwah your Elohim raise up unto you of your brethren like unto me. Him shall you hear, and all things whatsoever he shall say unto you. It shall come to pass that every soul which will not hear that prophet shall be destroyed from among the people. Yea, and all the prophets from Samuel, those that follow after, as many as have spoken, likewise have foretold of these days. You are the sons of the prophets, and the covenant which Elohim made with our father, saying unto Abraham, in your seed shall all the kindreds of the earth be blessed. Unto you first, Elohim, having raised up his son Yahusha, sent him to bless you and turning away every one of you from his iniquities. At the end of the day, look what he kept referencing. That all these people give witness to this man, and that they give witness to the fact that he was suffering. You know what I'm saying? That he was suffering. Man, I'm gonna tell you something, man. And I've been said this many a day, and I'll say it till my last breath expels from my lungs. It is a blessing of the living Elohim, totally of his grace, mercy, and righteousness that he has allowed us to be able to understand these things over the course of 8 years. It ain't no righteousness of any one of us. It is no goodness of any one of us. It is no faith of any one of us. It is surely and nothing other than his mercy and will that he has allowed us to understand his mystery. So considering such a great opportunity of salvation such as that we ought to seize that opportunity, not take it for granted, hold it high and tight like a running back through the A-gap. And understand that if you hold it, don't fumble the ball, that you'll be able to dwell with him in everlasting peace, righteousness, and salvation. You know what I'm saying? Your mind really has to think about that. All this other stuff we got going on, that stuff is irrelevant in comparison to the goal. I meant to go to 1 Peter chapter 1. Let's swing on around there. Thank the Lord. I want to pick this up. We could pick it up at verse 13. 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 13. That's all, man. That's all I want you to do, to sit back and consider. So I say, man, none of us have seen anything in this text that was spoken on before we were born. None of us have seen it, yet you believe it. Yet you love a man whom you have never laid eyes on. You trust a man whose voice you have never heard. You know what I'm saying? And it's all on the strength of all that stuff talking about nationality, all that other stuff. Man, that junk, that's trash, my G. That's trash. That junk don't mean nothing, man. It ain't meaning nothing. Because you talking to somebody who ain't deal with no word. But I will tell you this here. I can remember it too. I see it right now. I think I was in 11th grade. Miss Del Toro, she was the Spanish teacher. I ain't never paid attention to Spanish class. I was always asleep. You know what I'm saying? Or I would just get the hall pass and just dip and come back at my leisure. But she was the head of what it was. The Christian athletes thing. I don't remember what the exact acronym was. You know what I'm saying? Because I ain't pray at all. I felt like, for what? You know what I'm saying? I don't follow none of this here. So what's the point of pretending? But one night, man, I know she had gave me one of them half Bibles, you know, with just the New Testament and Proverbs and Psalms in it. But son, in my soul, in the inward parts, not unbeknownst, because I don't want to say that because I was aware. But son was telling me that you need to know this word, boy. You need to understand it. Nobody told me that. Nobody was imparting that to me. Something on the inside was telling me you must know this. Couldn't understand it fully at the time. I'm 16, 17 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like, you must know this. You must understand it. It is vital. You know what I'm saying? Now, who gonna know 12 years, almost 12 years later, that that's when that happens? You know what I'm talking about? Because a lot of people, they deal with the word. You going to church, you were praying, you were doing whatever. I wasn't on none of that. Read the Bible for what? I ain't finna follow it. I don't even understand it. So how can I follow something I don't understand? My mind just don't work that way. I'm like, man, I'm reading this book. I don't know what this book talking about, man. How am I going to follow something I don't know what it's talking about? So if I don't know what it's talking about, there ain't no way I can believe it for me to follow it. That's why my viewpoint of actually having an understanding is different than others. I understand it. I know what it's talking about. So that's why I believe it. That's why I believe it. That's why I believe it. I done told you that plenty of times. I done told y'all that plenty of times. Sitting in that jail cell trying to read the book of Job. I don't know what this book talking about. And I ain't reading because I'm locked up. I'm reading, well, I'm in here now. You know what I'm saying? So I might as well take the time and look at it. For me, it was reading because I'm looking at this as an educational piece of literature. Something I need to know. I don't know what it's talking about. 5 years later, I find out I know what it's talking about. I understand it. I understand it as simply as somebody understanding reading Dr. Seuss. That's how simple it is for me to understand. So when you have that, when you get to that point where you can look at this book and it's clear to you, because he said his words are plain to them who have understanding. They plain, they simple, they wide open. You can't neglect that. You can't neglect that. You got to really understand what you're dealing with. You can't neglect that. And a lot of us, we find ourselves neglecting that because we get complacent and you feel like you owe. 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 13. Wherefore, gird up the loins of your mind, be sober, hope to the end for the grace that is brought to you unto you at the revelation of Yahushua HaMashiach, as obedient sons, not fashioning yourselves according to the former lust in your ignorance, but as he which have called you is Kadash, so you be Kadash in all manner of conduct. Because it is written, be you Kadash, for I am Kadash. And if you call on the Father who without respect of persons judge according to every man's work, pass the time of your sojourning here in fear. For as much as you know that you were not redeemed with corruptible things, as silver and gold from your vain conduct received by tradition from your fathers, but with the precious blood of Mashiach, as of a lamb, without blemish and without spot, who truly was foreordained before the foundation of the world, but was made manifest in these last times for you, who by him do believe in Elohim, that raised him up from the dead and gave him esteem, that your faith and hope might be in Elohim. He uses the same verbiage at the end of that. That's in Psalm 78. Because he said he spoke in parables and he opened up these dark sayings. And he said, we got to show them to our sons in the generation that come after them, that they might set their hope in Elohim and follow his instructions or guard his instructions. See, at the end of the day, their hope would be set in Elohim according to the recounting and retelling of his works. That's what Psalm 78 tells you. That's what the law tells you to do. See, you know what? We ain't talked about it in a while. I'm gonna get to this character before we get out of here because we got time. Deuteronomy chapter 10. Notice that he also said that he established a testimony in verse 5 of Psalm 78, which is a deuth, the longer version of a doc, which is that witness. He's established a witness. He established a witness in Jacob, which is the supplanter, right? Heel catcher, right? That's another conversation. I'm thinking about something in Isaiah 14. Let me not do that. I think it's Deuteronomy 11 I need. Deuteronomy 11 and 18. We're going to get to Psalms 119 in just a moment. He said, therefore shall you lay up these. This is Deuteronomy 11 and 18. Therefore shall you lay up these my words in your heart and in your soul. Bind them for a sign upon your hand, that they may be as frontlets between your eyes. See, they go that mark in your hand and your forehead. See again. Satan ain't doing nothing but mimicking Yahuwah. It's not a vaccine. That's not to say that these people won't make you get a vaccine. Who knows? Yahuwah knows. That's not to say that these people don't want to put a microchip in people. Who knows? Yahuwah knows, but that's not the mark of the beast, though. You know what I'm saying? That's not to say that they won't do that. But that ain't the mark of the beast, my G. I'm here to tell you, it ain't. That's not a covenant with Satan. Because remember, we just talked about this the other night and subsequent weeks on end. The whole play is idolatry. We just talked about this Wednesday. We talked about this last Shabbat. It's about getting you to serve another God. You taking a vaccine is not you serving another God. You taking a microchip so you can buy and sell, it's not making you serve another God. At the end of the day, the last temptation is, will you serve Yahuwah or will you serve an idol? Will you be in covenant with the living Elohim or will you be in covenant with a man? See, all this other stuff, that stuff ain't in the text, yo. It's not there. Niggas around here going crazy about a vaccine. They ain't coming. Sit your stupid behind down somewhere. You ain't skilled enough to be talking about no word, talking about no vaccine is the mark of the beast. How dumb are you? And when I say dumb, I'm talking about what's in Isaiah 29. A dumb dog that cannot bark. You don't know what you're talking about. Now you're going to cause people to be deceived and be destroyed because of your lack of knowledge. Because you spoke when you ought not have spoken. Because you weren't given that skill and ability to manifest the word of Elohim, that a man may gain understanding to deliver himself. So therefore, when the real mark comes, they going to take it. They going to take it. Because they say, oh, I avoided the vaccine. I'm straight. But then they going to fall for the okie doke. I ain't worried about these white folks coming with no vaccine. That junk ain't ran across my mind. How many people around here serving God worrying about a man making you take a vaccine? Somebody's going to be lit in jail. We don't take this vaccine. But these people ain't trying to worry about locking you up out no vaccine. They're going to use social engineering and peer pressure to get you to do that. They ain't got to lock you up. One thing I know, boys, people do not understand social experiments and social engineering. You've been social engineered all your life. Some people done got into dealing with the word and you've been social engineered and don't even know it. But nevertheless, verse 19. You shall teach them your sons, speaking of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. You shall write them upon the doorpost of your house and upon your gates, that your days may be multiplied in the days of your sons in the land which you will swear unto your fathers to give them as the days of heaven upon the earth. Now sit there and look at how he said that land that they would to their fathers as the days of heaven. Heaven is eternal. There are no days in heaven. Think about that. But for some of you who recall, and some of you may not, because it's been a long time, when he tells you about that you should teach this word to your sons when you sit in your house. Well, in John 18, Yahushua told you, I was always in the temple and the synagogue teaching the people. When you walk in the way, well, you know Yahushua went through every city teaching the word of Elohim. Y'all know that what it say. You could read Matthew 9 for it and many other places. When you lay down, well, you know he preached to the spirits in prison. Peter told you about that. And you know when he rose up, because you know he taught his apostles that the whole book was about him upon his resurrection. Each and every time he was recounting and retelling the wonderful works of Elohim when he was doing it. See, a lot of people sit back and look at it, right? Remember, right? He said you should teach them to your children. See back up a little bit. See back up a little bit in this particular Deuteronomy 11. Because I want you to see what he said that he ought to teach them people. And it wasn't no laws what he was talking about, right? That he was telling these people to remember. Look at what he was telling them to remember. Come back to Deuteronomy 11:1 and look at it, what he was telling them. Therefore you shall love Yahuwah Elohim and keep his charge, his statutes, his judgment, his commandments always. I know you this day, I speak not with your sons, which have not known. He said, I ain't talking to your sons. They don't know. And which have not seen the chastisement of Yahuwah, your Elohim, his greatness, his mighty hand, and his stretched out arm. You already knowing he talking about Egypt. You already knowing he talking about Egypt. And his miracles and his acts, which he did in the midst of Mizraim under Pharaoh, the king of Mizraim, and under all this land. And what he did unto the army of Mizraim and unto their horses and their chariots. How he made the water of the Red Sea overflow them as they pursued after you. And how Yahuwah have destroyed them unto this day. And what he did unto you in the wilderness until you came unto this place. And what he did unto Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Elad, the son of Reuben. How the earth opened her mouth and swallowed them up, their households, their tents, all the substance that was in their possessions in the midst of Yasharal. But your eyes have seen all the great acts of which Yahuwah did, which he did. Therefore you shall keep all his commandments, which I command you this day, that you may be strong and go in and possess the land, whither you go to possess it, and that you may prolong your days in the land which Yahuwah sware unto your fathers to give unto them, to their seed, and the land that flow with milk and honey. Drop down to verse 12, look what he say. A land which Yahuwah your Elohim kept. That's not what I misread that. That's my fault. But you can read verse 12 anyway. A land which Yahuwah your Elohim care for the eyes of Yahuwah your Elohim are always upon it, from the beginning of the year even to the end of the year. That man care about that land. Look what he say in verse 16. Take heed to yourself that your heart be not deceived, and you turn aside and serve other gods and worship them. Now, the key point. We read verses 1 through 7 in Deuteronomy 11. What's the key takeaway? I give you the synopsis again. He said that you should keep his charge. He said, I'm not talking to your sons because they didn't know. They didn't see it. He said, but you heard about what the miracles and acts I did to Pharaoh and to his land. You seen how I drowned Pharaoh's army and destroyed them. You know what happened in the wilderness, and you know what I did to Dathan, Abiram, and Elab when the houses swallowed them up. He's saying, because your eyes have seen the great acts of Yahuwah, keep my commandments. What does that tell you? What point is being expressed from verses 1 through 8? Who can tell me what point is being expressed? I'll forgive me, I'm a little tired, which is quite regular for me. Nevertheless, who can tell me what that's expressing? He said, you seen all these great acts I did, so that means you ought to do what I tell you. Your sons ain't seen it. You need to tell them about it, but you seen it. That sounds like blessed are those that have believed, yet not have seen. But that's not the point I'm looking for. I give you that as well. I will accept that. That wasn't what I would think about, but I'll accept it. Because that is accurate. You better take heed lest you forget what I done told you. Therefore, you better take heed how you hear, lest you be without. And even that what you thought you had, I'm gonna take it. Look at what he told him. I can dig it. I can't doubt that. I can roll with it. I can dig it. I can dig it. I can dig it. What is he telling them now? Anybody else before I roll on out, man? It's gonna click up on 49. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you to 50. I'm gonna give you a minute. You got one more minute. What come to mind for y'all when you look at that right there, man? He said, you seen your sons, they ain't seen and heard. They ain't seen nothing what I'm talking about. Keep his charges. He said, they ain't seen. He said, but you seen, and then he recounted it to him. Look again, listen to it again, right? He said, y'all heard about he said, your sons ain't seen the chastisement and my greatness and my miracles and the acts I did and what I did to Egypt. How I killed him in the Red Sea. They ain't seen that. What all the works I did in the wilderness. They ain't seen that. They ain't even seen what I did to Dathan, Abiram, and Elab. He said, but your eyes seen the great acts. Therefore, you ought to do what I say. What you think he telling us from that? Because he telling us something very, very strong that's still prevalent and relevant to this very moment of which we speak. And the code statement, it's not wrong, because that's what he ended it with. You know what I'm saying? Now we at our minute. You know what he was telling you? You seen my works. You know I'm the living Elohim. So since you believe in me, you ought to do what I say. The just shall live by their faith. You seen it. There shouldn't have been no doubt in their mind they the living Elohim. You seen the plagues. You seen what he did to Og and Bashan in the wilderness. You seen what he did to Amalek. You seen the water come out the rock. You got the manna from him. You seen it. Your sons ain't seen none of that. You got to tell them about it. And that's what Yahushua came and did. You didn't see none of these works that was prophesied to him in the text. And he came and walked it out. And he told it to you while he sat in his house. He told it to you when he walked by the way. He told it to you when he lied down. He told it to you when he got up. He recounted it and he retold it. So that when he retold it, that you might believe and that you might do what he tell you to do. You know what I'm saying? Again, that statement that Yahuwah given in Deuteronomy 11 is for you to believe. And from that belief will come your obedience. The obedience does not come from the law. That's why he didn't lead with that. He said, you saw what I did. Think about that, though. Think about how Yahuwah led that off. He said, I'm not speaking to your sons because they ain't seen. You seen my acts. You seen my power. You seen my righteousness. I told you put that blood on that doorpost and I'll deliver you out of the hands of these people and slay their firstborn. You seen me do that. You seen me cause darkness on all the dwelling places of Egypt, and it was light on every house of Yahshua. You saw that. You saw that. You saw that. You saw that. So since you saw that, you ought to do what I say. So when you tell your sons about what you saw and my might and my greatness, they're trusting me on top of the fact you following what I say. That's how that works. Very simple. It's very simple. That's why I say to show unto a generation to come after, recount and retell. Well, now we're that generation that's recounting and retelling the works of Yahushua. And then because we're recounting and retelling that, we keep his charge. We keep those commandments because we're recounting and retelling the wonderful works that none of our sons saw. Shoot, we didn't see it, but yet we believe it. Because if you believe Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. That's what he was telling them people. The Pharisees, to be specific, 4 chapters before they say, we know Moses is a Elohim. We Moses' disciples. Well, if you were Moses' disciples, you should have been Yahushua disciples. But you didn't believe the word. That's why you're not his disciples. Think about that. Come over here to Psalms 119. What I said I was going with. Zayn, praise the Lord. I'm not sure. I think we did Zayn already. I'm going to find out, though. I feel like we did. Very well could be mistaken. We have not. We have not. Psalms 119, verse 40. Psalm 119. Remember, Zayn is protect. Let me I feel like I'm moving. Plowing seed, plowing tool, harvest food, dig, fruitful, cut off, weapon, nourish. So remember the word unto your servant. No, we have that. We did this already. I feel like we have. Oh, I might have read it to the turn. I think I read it. Psalms 119, verse 49. I think I read it to the turn. Remember the word unto your servant, which you have caused me to hope. This is my comfort in my affliction. Yeah, we did do this here because we're dealing with the mocking part. But I'll roll it out anyway. Remember the word unto your servant, which you have caused me to hope. What was that word that he calls in the hope? You know, I won't suffer your one to suffer corruption. See, come over here, right? I think it's in Timothy. Yes, in Timothy. I want to say Second Timothy. Second Timothy. It is Second Timothy. Second Timothy chapter 2. I want you to pick it up at verse 11. Second Timothy chapter 2, verse. It is a faithful saying, for if we be dead with him, we shall also live with him. If we suffer, we shall also reign with him. If we deny him, he also will deny us. If we believe not, yet he abides faithful, he cannot deny himself. Of these things, put them in remembrance, charging them before the Lord, that they strive not about the words to no profit, but to the subverting of the hearers. Listen to what he said to put this in remembrance, that you charge them before the living Elohim to not contend. Word. We did Zayin and Bot. I got to go back over Bot a little bit more of my liking. But I'm going to run through Zayin real quick and grab another. He told you not to contend with people the words that don't profit, that cause subverting to the hearers. It's more destructive to those who trying to hear the word that you contending and arguing about folly. And some of y'all can see that based on how dudes argue about the word on the internet. It's fruitless and unimportant. If that's what a person want to believe, let them believe it. Why do you care? That's you want to be right type stuff. I think it's irrelevant. Now, he's not talking to everybody when he says this. He's talking to Timothy, who is a preacher. Who is a preacher. This goes to what's in the book of Ezra. When it said Ezra was a skilled scribe and he sought Yahuwah to teach laws and statutes in Yasharal. Study to show yourself approved under Elohim, a workman that need not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. Yahushua had already said in Matthew that the workman is the labor is worthy of his hire. You're not a workman because you read the word. You're doing what Isaiah 34 told you to do. Seek out the book of Yahuwah and read. Or what the book of Revelation told you to do. Blessed is he that read and keep the words of the prophecy of this book. Or what Acts 17 says, they're more noble than those in Thessalonica because they search the word daily to see if those things are so. This statement is for somebody who teach the word. To show yourself approved as a workman. That ain't for you if you ain't no workman. Because if you can rightly divide the word of truth and manifest the righteousness of Elohim, that is so. When he say to show yourself approved under Elohim, that means that you showed yourself approved that Elohim sent you. That's why Yahushua said every scribe which is instructed in the kingdom of Shamahim is like a householder, bringing forth out of his vessel things new and old. That means you will show that you are approved. What else did he tell you? He said, you know, my doctrine is not mine, but his that sent me. If any man do his will, he will know if the doctrine is mine. If I speak of myself, he that speak of himself, seek of his own esteem. He that seek the esteem of him that sent him, the same is true, and there's no unrighteousness in it. That's how you show yourself approved to Elohim. You talking about you studying the book. That don't mean you no workman, man. See that bad teaching, that bad too. That bad too. Now you got a whole bunch of people out here in the earth thinking they're working. I'm studying to show myself approved. Study to show yourself approved. No, sir. Timothy was a minister, a servant of Elohim for the preaching of the gospel. He wasn't talking to you. Let's continue, because look what he's telling him to do. But shun profane and vain babblings, for they increase unto more ungodliness. This is what he's telling them. Don't argue with nobody and stay away from common and worthless conversation. Verse 17, and their word will eat as do a canker, of whom Hymenaeus and Philtius, who concerning the truth have erred, saying that the resurrection is past already, overthrowing the faith of some. See, that going back to what we're looking at, right? Our hope is in the resurrection, and you got people who are trying to cause you to lose that hope. That's what you're talking about, overthrowing faith, making you believe there ain't no resurrection. Making you, because that's where your hope lands. lies, excuse me, because that's the promise of Elohim. Nevertheless, the foundation of Elohim stands sure, having this seal, the Lord knows them that are his. And let everyone that name the name of Mashiach depart from rebellion. Come on back to Psalm 119. He said, this is my comfort. This is verse 50. In my affliction, for your word have made me alive. And we didn't talk about that. Yahushua was afflicted, and that word comforted him, or that ruach. The proud have had me greatly in derision. We talked about that. They mocked it. And I have not declined from your law. He kept that word. I remember your judgments of old, O Yahuwah, and I've comforted myself. He remembered the word. Let's look at one of his judgments of old, what would comfort Yahushua. Exodus chapter 23. Exodus 23 and 1. Exodus 23 and 1. You shall not raise a false report. Put not your hand with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness. You shall not follow a multitude to do evil. Neither shall you speak in a cause to decline after many to wrest judgment. Neither shall you countenance a poor man in his cause. Verse 6, yeah, because we don't need to read the rest of that. You shall not wrest the judgment of the poor in his cause. Keep you from a false matter, and the innocent and righteous slay you not, for I will not justify the wicked. Huh? He remembered them. You think Yahuwah didn't remember? You think Yahushua didn't remember that? Verse 53, horror have taken hold upon me because of the wicked that forsake your Torah. And we say, you know, I'm exceedingly sorrowful, even unto death. Let's see what that word horror translates to. Zalalah, a burning heat, a raging heat. As a famine, a consuming. The word is Alafa, Zayin and Lamad, Ayin, Pei, and Hey. So when you look at that one there, you can behold and know that the word has oh, look at that. I don't want to use that. Has chastised and cut. That's why this man was in a raging heat or a burning heat. Remember, say the man was sweating like drops of blood. See, that takes us back to Son in Deuteronomy 28. Y'all remember that in Deuteronomy 28, you catch a little fever? Y'all remember when we looked at that a long time ago, you catch a little fever? Let me find that way to tell you he catch a little fever, man. Because some of y'all remember, we went through the whole chapter of Deuteronomy 28. I want to say you will bring to my mind about 2016 that every one of these doggone curses in Deuteronomy 28, this man went through it. He suffered every single one of these curses in Deuteronomy 28 so that they could be reversed. You got to take on a curse to reverse it. You know what I'm saying? You can't reverse a curse just on the house. You got to take on the same curse to get rid of the curse. And of course, it bears witness to a suffering. I can't recall. I think it's verse 59, but I don't want to say that verse 59. You come to Deuteronomy 28, you will or not. I'll find the one I want to say. There we go. Deuteronomy 28 and 22. It says, Yahuwah shall smite you with consumption, and with the fever, and with the inflammation, with extreme burning, with the sword, with blasting, with mildew, and they shall pursue you until you perish. And your heaven that is over your head shall be brass, and the earth underneath you shall be as iron. So let's look at all them words, right? Let's look at it. Now, you know consumption, right? What we have here is shak effect, which is a consumption or emaciation, a wasting disease. Also a disease of the lungs. You know, if you got a disease of the lungs, you lose breath. You know, he gave up the ghost. Now we got fever, which of course is a burning ache or a fever. And it is kad dak'af. So you see that he gets a fever with an extreme inflammation. That inflammation is also another burning fever, or delicate, another burning fever. So basically, you're going to get a very, very hot fever. He said with extreme burning, which is extreme heat, inflammation, and another fever, which is carcur. Of course, sword is self-explanatory. Blasting mildew. Blasting is shadafa, and this is a blasted thing, a blighted thing, or a blight of crops. Of course, you got mildew. That's yakaran, and that's lividness, rust, or paleness. And paleness from fright. And they will pursue you till you perish. Now, of course, y'all know what happens when you get a fever. You get a little hot, you go to get a sweating. So come over here to Luke 22 then. Come over here to Luke 22. 22, probably about verse 29. No, not verse 29, verse 39. But we go straight to the point. Well, now we'll start at verse 39. That's the only thing. Remember, right? We're looking at this here from Psalms 119 and verse 53. It said, horror have taken hold upon me because the wicked have forsaken your Torah. So it said a burning or raging heat. A burning and raging heat. He came out and went as he was wont to the Mount of Olives. His disciples also followed him. And when he was at the place, he said unto them, pray that you enter not into temptation. He was withdrawn from them about a stone's cast and kneeled down and prayed, saying, Abba, if you be willing, remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done. And there appeared a Malachim from unto him from Shamahim, strengthening him. Being in agony, he prayed more earnestly, and as his sweat, as it were great drops of blood, falling down to the ground. You have to ask yourself, why is this man sweating like this? Why is he sweating like this? You already know from the account in Matthew, it said that he was sorrowful even unto death. He has a burning heat. Why does this horror taken upon him? Because his time has come. You see that he had to have a fever and that it would follow him till he perished. Because the whole book is about him and it's bearing witness to him. And all we're doing is taking those words out at that law and recounting and retelling the great works of Elohim, the suffering that the son of Elohim did in order to save his creation. Come on back over here to Psalms 119, verse 54. Your statutes have been my songs in the house of my pilgrimage. And we talk about that. Dwelling place, sojourning. That's when they went and sung a hymn. I remembered your name, O Yahuwah, in the night, and have kept your law. You know, they sung a hymn. And that night, he kept that word. Yes, I had, because I kept your precepts. See, you were able to remember the man's name and do these things because you guard his word. Well, why do you guard his word? Because you recount and you retell his works. See, if you don't recount and retell the works, you're not going to guard what he says. It's going to be very difficult for you to do that because you won't have a base point of faith in order to do so. You're not going to be able to hold on. That's why you see people walk away, because they don't have anything to hold on to. Come over here to Tau. Tau is going to be the last one, Psalm 119 and verse 169. Psalms 119, verse 169. Oh, that's the one that they know. So, of course, you know, Tau is mark, sign, covenant, things of that nature. Let's look at what Psalms 119 and verse 169 has to tell us. Let my cry come near before you, O Yahuwah. Give me understanding according to your word. Let my supplication come before you Deliver me according to your word. My lips shall utter praise when you have taught me your statutes. My tongue shall speak of your word, for all your commandments are righteousness. See, let's back that up. Now we know this, right? John 17, Yahushua prayed. We're not going to read John 17. You know what he prayed. He said, give me understanding according to your word. But we will grab some points out of John 17. He said, give him understanding. Come to John 17. 17 and 14. He said, I've given them your word. The world have hated them because they are not of the world, even as I am not of the world. See, back up a little bit. Verse 6, actually, I manifested your name unto the men which you gave me out of the world. Thine they were. You gave to me. They have kept your word. Now they have known that all things whatsoever you gave given me are of you. I've given unto them the words which you gave me. They have received them. They have known surely that I come out from you. They have believed that you did send me. This is what he tells him. I pray for them. I don't pray for the world, but for them which you have given me, for they are yours. Now let's take a look, drop down a little bit. You know, in verses 21, he goes to praying that they could all be, and of course he included us. He said he don't pray for these alone, but all those that should believe on me through their word. Notice that he said that all these people would believe on him through the word of the apostles. So the only way you're going to believe on Yahushua is through the word. There's no other way. There's no other way. But he's praying for the fact of, give me understanding according to your word, not according to your congregation, not according to your knowing you're an Israelite, not according to your material possessions, but give them understanding according to your word. We all know from Luke chapter 24 that when he resurrected from the dead, he opened their understanding that they might understand the scriptures, going through Moses and the prophets and the Psalms and the things concerning himself. And he opened their understanding that they might understand the scriptures. And that understanding was according to the word. And that was it. And that's it. And that's it. Yahushua has come and given us an understanding that we might know him that is true, that we're in him that is true. This is the true Elohim and eternal life. See, come over here. Come over here to 1 John, man. 1 John chapter 5. 1 John chapter 5. We're going to have to do it. We pick it up at verse 18. He said, we know that whosoever is born of Elohim sin not. But he that is begotten of Elohim keep himself, and that wicked one touch him not. We know that we are of Elohim, and the whole world lie in wickedness. And we know that the Son of Elohim is coming, giving us an understanding, that we may know him that is true, and that we are in him that is true. Even his son, Yahushua HaMashiach. This is the true Elohim and eternal life. This man that came and giving you an understanding according to the word. That's why his words are plain to those that have it. When you don't have understanding, this gospel ain't plain. They mock you, you spiritualizing, you philosophizing, that's a stretch. All this other stuff that niggas come up with, but they don't believe it. They don't believe it. You can't get understanding if you don't believe it. That's impossible. The only way you can believe it is you got to recount the tale. You notice that he read all the words of that covenant. Moses recounted the tale. They say we gonna do it, and we believe it. That's why he came back in Deuteronomy and said, man, you better go. I can tell your sons about what I did. They didn't see it, but you saw it. You better tell them about it. You better tell them about me. Notice that he said in the book of Jeremiah, they will no longer say that Yahuwah lived, which brought the sons of Yasharal up out of Egypt, but Yahuwah lived, which brought them out to the north country, not Yahuwah lived, who gave them a law. He said, you better tell them about me. You better tell them about what I done. You better let them know. Rahab didn't say, oh, I'm going to hide the spies because I heard about this law. She said she heard about Yahuwah. I know he the living God. I'm rolling with y'all. She heard about it. The same thing with them Gibeonites. When they came and did what they did, oh, we heard about him. Well, we're trying to get down with him. Matter of fact, we're fake like we came a long way and fake like our bread old and all this junk here, boy, because we got to roll with him. We done heard about you. They believed on the word. You trying to believe on the law and wonder why you fall. and wonder why you fall. See, a stupid Bruce, he trying to tell people not to teach the law. Let your mind tell it. That's what your own heart telling yourself, because you don't keep it. Ain't nobody said that. Ain't nobody said that damn time. Ain't nobody said that damn time. We ain't got no problem with the law. Like Paul told us, we established the law. We already know that. That's nothing. That's nothing. But that's not our justification. That's not what makes us righteous before his face. We have enough understanding to know that. So I don't have to prove myself, but I keep this and keep that. For what? That's what wicked niggas do. I keep the law. Okay? What you telling me for? You trying to convince me or you trying to convince yourself? I didn't ask you. If that's what you do, man, keep on rolling. Ain't none of my business. I don't care. I'm not worried about what you're doing and what you're not doing. I'm not even sitting there thinking about, I know that boy be saying it. What? Who thinks like that? You think people think like that because you out of pocket. So you like somebody who done stole out the store. You thinking the security guard done seen you. They caught you on camera. You're nervous. Back to Psalms 119, right? Verse 170. He said, let your supplication come before, let my supplication come before you, deliver me according to your word. You already know how Yahushua was delivered according to the word. He resurrected. You know this. He said, my lips shall utter praise when you have taught me your statutes. You can see that in Luke 24 as well. Them boys was happy. He said, don't our hearts burning within us? When he opened up the scriptures, by the way. That's what it said. My tongue shall speak of your word, for all your commandments are righteousness. So get what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk about Yahushua. He the word made flesh. That's who I'm finna talk about. I'm finna talk about this bar. This wouldn't even say the bar. It's Imra. That utterance, that speech, that word. The word of Elohim. Well, let's look at John chapter 1 and let's see if it called him the word of Elohim. I'm not sure if it called him that. I think we need to go. John 1 and 1. I'm not sure. That's what that word, right? That's Imra. That's Aleph. That's Meme. That's Rosh. That Hey. It's an utterance. It's a speech. It's a word. The word of Elohim. That's what it said. My tongue shall speak of the word of Elohim. He said, we know all your commandments is Zadok. We know the mitzvah. We know them commandments. We know they righteous. But what's the commandment of Elohim? That you believe on the one whom he have sent. Oh, I'm already there. John 1 and 1. In the beginning was the word, and the word was with Elohim, and the word was Elohim. The same in the beginning with Elohim. Huh? That's what it say. What does John 1 and 14 tell you? And the word was made flesh. So your tongue ought to be speaking of Yahushua. You know all his instructions are righteous. Well, his instructions ain't nothing but his father's instructions. He already tell you, my father gave me an instruction what I should say and what I should speak. I know his instructions are life everlasting. You know this. This is nothing. Verse 73, 173 in Psalms 119. He said, let your hand help me, for I have chosen your precepts. You gonna let Yahushua help you? And remember, that's Azar, right? Be a succor, a support, a help. Paul, Hebrews 4. Point 14, I believe. 4 and 14 is sufficient. Hebrews 4 and 14. Seeing then that we have a great high priest that has passed into the heavens, Yahushua the son of Elohim, let us hold fast our profession. We have not a high priest which cannot be touched with the feeling of our infirmities, but was in all points tempted like as we are, yet without sin. Let us therefore come boldly into the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy to find grace to help in the time of need. He said, let your hand help me. Yahushua is his right hand. I would have said, Yah, you chose the word. Verse 175, let my soul live and it shall praise you. Let your judgments help me. Again, Azar again. You gonna let his judgments help you? You gonna let his mishpah help you? You gonna let his judgments, his justice, his ordinances? You gonna let his right ruling help you? Verse 176, I've gone astray like a lost sheep. Seek your servant, for I do not forget your commandment. Now, we could be here all night with just that one point right there. But look at the key point of that mark and that covenant. All these verses have one thing in common. It's the remembrance of that word. Give me understanding according to that word. Deliver me according to that word. My lips will praise because you've taught me your word. My mouth will only speak of your word. Let your hand help me because I've chosen your word. I've longed for your salvation, O Yahuwah. Your word is my delight. I think I missed that verse in 174. And of course, you know salvation here is Yeshua or Yahusha. You know that what it say? You long for Yahusha. That's what it tell you. And your law is his delight, which is Shashua, which is delight or enjoyment or object of delight. Shan, Ayin, Shan, U, Ayin. And I think that's another Ayin again. Let my soul live and it will praise you, and your judgments will help me, or your word is going to help me. I've gone astray like a lost sheep. Astray is ta'ah. You done wandered off. You done wandered off from the word. He said, please seek me. You already know he talked about that in Luke 15. You know he talked about that in John chapter 10. You know that's in 1 Peter chapter 2. About the great shepherd and bishop of your souls have came and sought you because you done went astray. But this man done came back and offered himself up. And by his stripes you healed. Because you done staggered off from the word. He didn't go nowhere. You've been returned. But all of these key things, when you look at that tile or that mark or that covenant, it's all pertaining to that word. Let's take it back to what we read before about he say, take that word and those things are kind of retell them stories and make them as a mark in your hand and frontlet between your eyes. And that's all the beast's gonna do. But when you look at that tile in that Psalms 119, it's all contingent on the word. That you delight and have laid up the word. And that can only happen from recounting and retelling the wonderful and mighty works of your Elohim. That when you recount and retell them, of course you're going to keep his instructions. How could you recount and retell a story that you're not going to keep? That makes no sense. When you sit there and think about it, how you going to sit here and recount and retell the mighty, wonderful work? Because when you recount and retell it in work, you're going to be talking about his goodness, how he's compassionate, how he's slow to anger, and how he's full of grace and truth. There's no way that you could not convey that. And again, that is a good report, make the bones prosperous, and a wholesome or a healing word is as a tree of life. But we've springed all this stuff from Proverbs 15 to begin with. And we still ain't went back to Ecclesiastes 10. But the other thing from what this sprang from is which is bread is for a mocking, wine is for the rejoicing of life, and the kasaf or the money answers. The man's body is going to cause you to be mocked. His blood or his covenant will cause you to rejoice for the gift of life. And therefore his ruach will answer because you recount and you retell of his mighty, wonderful, gracious, and loving works. And therefore you keep his charge. Very simple concept. And we could explain that to a 5-year-old and they would understand it. Sad part is that we're 8 times their age. 5 and 6 and 7 times their age. And we don't understand. But hallelujah for Yahushua in the word. Give praise and thanks to the living Elohim in all things. I bless y'all out the house of Yahuwah in the name of Yahushua. I appreciate your time, but just weigh and consider what the word is talking about. Because at the end of the day, we ain't seen none of the works in this text. We didn't see any of these things happen, but we believed it. This is what Yahuwah was imparting in the law to your forefathers to tell your sons, because your sons hadn't seen any of it so that they could believe it. All the same word. There is no difference. It's the same word with the same principle. It's the same word. It's the same word. And it's a beautiful word, and it's a gracious word. And give thanks to the living Elohim by way of Yahushua for that word and an opportunity to hear that word and lay that word up in your heart that you might avoid death and reign with him. You know what I'm saying? But just weigh and consider, man. Just weigh and consider, man. Again, blessings out the house of Yahuwah in the name of Yahushua, man. I appreciate y'all. Yahuwah willing, we get back on it on tomorrow and make it do what it